It's the chop, baby. We are back. RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 5, Episode 7. Tonight, Blair thrown under the bus by production. Miz Relatable enjoying herself a little bit too much. Some incredible confessional, some questionable main challenge, and the most insightful critique ever. Lots and lots of shade and manipulation from the production. But before we begin, please, if you like what we do, remember to give the videos a like, as it really helps the channel in a time when YouTube is prioritizing big companies at the expense of small independent creators like yours truly. But it's important especially now, because the channel has been sandboxed after we received a copyright strike for the video Midnight in the Library. So our videos are no longer suggested as they used to be before. Now, welcome everyone. I see a ton of relatable people in the chat. We have Mrs. G, Ali Garance, Lisbeth Polino, Corelio, and Dalta Shin. Welcome to the whole subscribers and welcome to the new ones. So let's begin with this new episode. The episode starts with Alexis Mateo going home because, you know, it was her time to go home. So she basically went home. Now, when we go back in the workroom, we have a very relatable moment with Miss Cracker picking the lipstick of somebody else. It's not like we saw that happening last episode, did we? But you know, in a way, as Ongina said, she is not Ben de la Creme. And I will add, she is not Naomi Smalls, because in the end we found out that, of course, she picked Alexis' lipstick. Because, you know, it is how it is. So the episode starts, and immediately, we get a prophetic shady noise on Blair Sinclair.
We are the top 4.
Now, with that said, there's just one crown.
Oh yeah, it's not prophetic at all. It's not like we could imagine that she was going to go home by the end of the episode. Nobody could have imagined that. But just to give you, you know, a little bit of a suggestion on what is going to happen. So the day after, the Queen are back in the workroom, and if you didn't get it the first time, be sure to get it this time, because immediately after Blair speaks, we see Jujubee and Shea Coulee edited to side-eye her.
They're looking at the nitty-gritty little tiny detail.
Oh yes. Yes, who could have imagined? Nobody could have ever imagined what was going to happen. So the episode goes on, and Ru comes in to announce the main challenge for the episode. Of course, we don't have any mini advertisement this episode, like the episode before and like the episode before that. Nevertheless, we have a comedy routine. At this point in the competition, we're usually used to have a makeover challenge or, you know, something like that with parents, friends, people from the audience, whoever it is, but we don't get it this time. Curiously, we have a comedy routine challenge. How curious is that? I'm sure it's just the case. It doesn't absolutely mean absolutely nothing. So, since we don't have any mini advertisement, Cracker is chosen to decide the performing order for the Queen, because she won the last challenge, curiously of course. And we get to see that the Queens receive a package with notebooks and some stuff on the table, and I really wonder, apart from the notebooks, what's written in there? Is it something curious written in there? Is it just guidelines? What is it? So we get to get a little bit of sneak peek with Blair Sinclair, because at this point, if you can't see, she has the guidelines that are shown on the screen. So of course, we had to zoom in to kind of take a look what the hell they told the Queens. So even though it's very difficult to read, at least we made it was possible to make out a little bit of what was in there. So the performance is to be 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We got to see 1 minute, which is 20%. Do you have any idea how many things could have been left out? when we just got to see 1 minute of the main challenge instead of the whole 5. So that's it. In addition to that, the queens have to roast the other queens and the audience. What else is in there? I have no idea. This is the best that I could get to it. So, 5 minutes and that's it. Anyway, so moving on with the episode. We have Miss Cracker deciding the order, and here again we have this moment in which she has to fake that she's kind of being shady, which is a complete act, because of course there is 4 of them. How many permutation do you have with 4 people? I don't know, I can do the math. What is it, 12? It's not that many. It's not like rocket science. You have to decide an order. But of course, it's extra relatable if you fake it being shady, which it's of course all an act. I don't know why she did it. I found it annoying, but we have to live through this episode. So the performing order is decided. Jujubee will have to go first, followed up by Blair, Miss Cracker, and last but not least, Shake You Lay, which, by the way, spoiler, not spoiler alert, she absolutely killed it. But we're going to see about that later. So we go to rehearsal, and a couple of very, very interesting things happen in here. First of all, we got something going on with Blair Sinclair. Now, while we were watching this, we were both rolling our eyes because they kept telling Blair, "Oh, you're so funny. Oh, it's incredible. Oh, I'm laughing so much. Oh, blah, 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 blah." And she was not funny. And I wonder, did any of you laugh for a single moment during Blair's rehearsal? Because they were, how can I say it? They were continuously feeding her this dishonest feedback, which put her in this uncomfortable position of feeling comfortable when she shouldn't have been feeling comfortable, because what she was presenting was not funny at all. But of course they didn't tell her, because why? Well, because she had to go home. So since she has to go home, why not set her up for failure? And this scene is absolutely disgusting, and I understand what Ross and the guest judge are doing. I mean, they are doing their job. They're there for a paycheck. They have to do what they have to do, but it doesn't make it any more digestible.
So Jujubee is right before me, so I would like to kind of segue off of her into myself. Thank you, Jujubee. Nice try.
Already funny. Great beginning. That's great. Go there. This is good.
No, Blair. That's not good. That's not good. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely not good. It was so bad, and you know what? We've seen this happen before. We've seen this happening not more than 3 or 4 months ago when season 12 was airing. Do you remember Aiden? When they kept telling Aiden, "Oh, you are so special. You are so unique." Of course they buy into this. If they are young or inexperienced enough, or maybe even stressed enough, because it is a stressful environment. You are there filming 10, 12 hours a day, maybe even 15, day after day after day, with no contact with the outside, filmed every single time, with possibly camera in your room as well. That's in the contract as well. So it is stressful. It's easy to buy into this. It's easy to buy into this, and she completely bought into this and completely bombed the challenge. Anyway, moving on, there is another interesting moment during rehearsal when Miss Cracker comes in. Please note the relatable pose while she is taking notes from the judges, because of course she is pretending that she's going to need notes. But at this moment, we get another example of Miss Cracker directing not only herself, but also the editors.
Say hi to Jane Krakowski.
This is one of those times where they do like a special cutaway to where I talk about how much I love you. I love Jane Krakowski. She's a legend.
I have to make a correction to this. This is not the time when blah blah blah. This is going to be one of those times where they do a cutaway, because she is directing the editors, and the editors are completely in on it. We've seen it happen for the whole entirety of All Stars 5. She plays it up, and on the other side, the editor buy it in, and then they try to feed it to us. The problem is, nobody's buying it anymore, because if you do this kind of things too much, people will notice. And people don't like to be force-fed a queen. You are making a queen that maybe people will even like, because Miss Cracker is likable. She's playing it up, of course she's playing it up, but she's also likable. Our online shows, they are pretty famous. I like them. I like Review with a Jew. I think it's funny. I think she is funny. But the problem is, if you try so hard to manipulate and take everything under control and then force-fed it to us, people are not going to respond well. And surely I am not responding well. And as a matter of fact, I completely hated Miss Cracker's performance during the entirety of All Stars. She is completely and continuously in your face. The editors make absolutely no effort to hide it. If anything, they're completely buying into this. It's non-stop. It's getting so bad, and I'm getting, Gigi Good vibes. The same thing that was happening with Gigi in season 12, no less than 3 or 4 months ago, is happening again with Miss Cracker, because this is what happens when you don't have a plan to go with the flow, to just have people stay there and act naturally, doing whatever it is that they're doing while they are performing for this challenge, and then go with the flow. See what happens. Adapt yourself. You have 6, 7, 9 months to edit this thing down. You're going to make something good if you have the talent to back it up. But if you don't, you have to set up storylines and then force feed everything in order to make it look like it comes out natural. Well, guess what? It's not natural. It's annoying. So, after this, we have this incredible moment in which Ross, look what Ross is saying to the guest judge.
Miss Cracker is a very, very funny queen, right?
Yes.
She's a very, very funny queen, right? Right? It's like he needs confirmation for that. He absolutely needs confirmation, because otherwise he doesn't know. Is that what we agreed upon before when we started film? That she's very funny, right? Yes, she's very funny, right? That's how it is. My God. So we move on to the next day in the workroom and look at Blair's expression. This is one of the best part of the whole episode. That is, do you see that face? Let's enlarge it. Let's see if we can. I cannot enlarge it. The program doesn't allow. But look at Blair's face. That used to be my face something like 10 years ago, when I realized that I scored a guy who was way, way out of my league. That's the face of everyone. It's incredible. And immediately, the moment the queen starts getting back, we have a little bit of narration from Miz Relatable. And what we find out is that not only she's allowed to refilm confessionals, but we are also allowed to notice that she's refilming them. Because, eating your own words is really relatable.
Today we are performing a comedy. Today we are performing a comedy routine at RuPaul's Shady Shack.
Oh yes, how relatable is that? It's so relatable. You know what's even more relatable? Burping. We are welcome to this, I don't know, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't know. It's nonstop. That's just how bad it is. So Shay's having some problems with her stomach, and she's burping, and we are forced to witness that for like 3 minutes, because of course the show has started pandering to the lowest common denominators. So right now we have burps. Maybe for the finale we're going to have farts. Nobody knows. Nevertheless, the queens are preparing for the main challenge, and we get a glimpse of Blair being extremely overconfident. And you might think, maybe she didn't really buy into this. Maybe, you know, she was on the game before, she got an idea of what was going to happen, but for some reason she completely bought into it. And so she is talking in front of the mirror saying, oh yes, they liked what we did during rehearsal, they thought I had so much material and blah blah blah. And in that moment we have to thank the Lord for Jujubee, because Jujubee is making the whole show.
They were saying, like, you have material, you have jokes. They're like, just narrow down on your best jokes because I have a lot of material. But, like, just have fun, let loose, and just enjoy the time you're on stage.
Oh my God, they loved me. They couldn't stop laughing. I have too much material. Bitch.
And you know, if someone like Jujubee picked that up and then brought it up during a confessional, it must have been that Blair was really convinced that she was going to do good. She was so pumped up by what happened during the rehearsal that she probably talked so much about it that we even have Jujubee talking about it in a confessional and making fun of it, of course, because in a way, in a kind of maybe even sad way, but it is funny because she completely bought into this. She is like, yes, girl, I'm going to win this challenge. And she said something like, I'm telling myself every night I'm going to win. It's sad, you know, it's sad. And we got another confirmation that she bought into this when she even went to Cracker saying, you are underestimating me.
I think you underestimate me because you put me before you. So I think you should watch out, girl. My rehearsal with Ross and Jane felt great. And being comfortable on stage and delivering a routine, no problem.
Yeah, no problem at all, is it? No problem at all. Oh, Blair. Of course, the rehearsal felt great. They told you what you wanted to hear. And what's sad is that you needed to hear that. You really needed it. That's why you bought into that. You know, this whole thing would have been extremely funny if it wasn't so sad at the core, because it's just another example of the production taking advantage of the vulnerability into someone to guide them into their own storyline. Because, you know, this is usually, it is part of reality TV to have contestants kind of guided into things, because of course you cannot go 100% with the flow. You have to have a little bit of things, you know, a little bit of an idea of how things are going to do. But this is just reaching new levels of sadness, and this is what we're getting on the VH1. Remember season 6? Kind of. Sorry, I bit my tongue. That's how it's going to be. My God. Anyway, we move on to the main challenge, and we are welcomed by a little bit of advertisement for cheeky South Bollywood. This is how I'm going to mention that, for sponsoring the drinks. How nice is that? So we go to Jujubee's performance. Now, how was Jujubee? Well, she wasn't that bad. She was not that good. The problem is, the performance was 5 minutes and we saw 1 minute. So what was left out? Was she bad? Was she good? Who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's no way to know. And that's why it's so difficult for me to really judge this challenge, because I have no idea. When 80% of it has been left out, I have no idea of knowing, what did you present me? Was it the best? Was it the worst? Was it the average? What was it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So we have to take this at face value. And at face value, the only thing that I can say is that she has a notebook. This is stand-up. If you go to a bar and your stand-up comedian has a notebook, people will not listen. I mean, you have to learn your lines. This is absolutely unforgettable for me. So independently of what we got to see, the fact that she came out with the notebook, it's a big no-no. So I'm sorry, Jujubee. I absolutely love you. I've been loving you for years, but this whole All Stars run for Jujubee was really underwhelming in a way. And you know, during the show, she talked about the fact that she recently compared to the fact that they were filming 1 year ago. So at the time, she had just broke up with her boyfriend of 12 years. So it could be that this was so pervasive in her life that for some reason she didn't prepare for this. She was not into this. We've seen it during the challenges. We've seen it in the kind of outfit that she prepared. It's like it came out as an afterthought, you know? It's like they finally gave her a call and they told her, Jujubee, come to do All Stars. And she was like, well, I cannot pass on that. I cannot pass on that. I'm a season 2 queen. If they call me, I have to go. And this is the feeling that I get from Jujubee, which is kind of sad because she's a really talented and versatile queen. Most of all, versatile. So we move on, and we move on to Blair. And Blair is an absolute catastrophe. It's an absolute catastrophe. Of course, I imagined that. I imagined that it was going to be that bad because Blair is not a comedy queen. That's plain and simple. They tell her she's funny, but you know, the fact that people tell you that you're funny doesn't mean that you're funny. That's the problem with it. And being funny is really, really difficult because, you know, it's something that has to come out as genuine, as, how can I say, natural, you know? Good comedy looks like it's coming off natural, but the problem is there's nothing natural about it. There is a clear formula to follow. The jokes are constructed, and most of the time in a very smart way, and that's what you have to deliver. It's not easy to do comedy at all. So whenever you see a comedian and you think, oh my God, this is so funny, this is coming off so natural. It's like we are having a talk, we're having a good time. It's not. There is a ton of work behind it. And this is further proof of it. Because Blair's performance was so bad. It was so bad. She had this moment when she was looking at her notes, because of course she's looking at her notes as well, like Jujubee, because she didn't prepare. Because, you know, it's stand-up. I can understand that maybe you are not funny. I can understand that you're not a comedian and this is really difficult. I absolutely understand that. But memorizing your line is not something that requires you to be a comedian. It only requires you that you put the effort in it, that you find the time for it, because it's important as well. And she doesn't. She didn't. And I think that one of the reasons why she didn't was because she was feeling really, really confident in what she was doing. And why was she feeling so confident? Well, because people gave her fake feedback. They fed up a load of bullcrap. So during Blair's performance, we have this moment that for me, it's the funniest moment of all performance, but for all the wrong reasons.
I can't really make fun of age. I mean, people say all the time, Blair, you look so young, so young, so young.
I'm sorry. How does Blair look again? Oh, let me check my notes. Oh, yes. So young. That's good. That's good that we noticed the notes. It was so bad. It was so bad. And of course we got a confessional from Jujubee because these are being the best part of the whole episode.
Oh, I do declare, this is a dumpster fire.
And Blair's performance was so bad that at the end she even has this recycled joke. Now, a word on recycled jokes. A ton of jokes on Drag Race are recycled. Okay? A ton of the things that you think you are so smart, that they are so witty, they are recycled jokes. It's very rare, actually, to see a joke constructed on the moment. And one of the queens that I appreciated the most for being able to construct new jokes on the moment was Ben de la Creme. If you look at the All Stars 3 reading challenge, she basically only has jokes constructed at the moment. which, I mean, it tells you a lot about the talent of the person behind it, at least as a comedian. But the problem with recycled jokes is that if you use them, at least make sure that these are not jokes that we've seen already on Drag Race. And most of all, that they are not jokes that we've seen from contestants that are at the same challenge as you are.
If you love me tonight, my name is Blair St. Clair, and if you hated me, it's Derek Barry.
Just remember, if you liked my performance, my name is Shea Coulee, and if you hated it, it's Nina Bonita Brown.
So yes, it was a dumpster fire. But how could it have been any different? That is the problem. Because, you know, if they gave her proper feedback, maybe she would have done much better. Maybe she would have been as bad as she was. Surely they would have edited her to look as bad as she was, because it was her time to go home. There is no doubt about that. In this competition, we are not allowed to have surprises, to imagine that something incredible happens. You know, it happened in All Stars 4 when they sent Latrice home, when they sent Manila home. But be sure something like that is never going to happen again, because to correct that, they had to go with a double crowning, and that costed them $100,000 more. So be sure that there will be no surprises in the competition. So of course, the best performance of the night had to be by Miz Relatable. By the way, look at how relatable is that expression for her. It's very, very relatable. Anyway, during Miss Cracker's rehearsal, I don't know if any of you noticed, but the judges were kind of playing up the part, you know. They were pretending that she was not being that good, that she was not feeling it, and they told her this thing. They told her, Miss Cracker, try to have some fun during the challenge. And what do you know? During the challenge, Miss Cracker is surely having a ton of fun. How much fun is she having? Well, I'll let you judge by yourself. Look at that. Do you notice something? Do you notice something on Miss Cracker? I mean, it's not like I look there, but damn, look at it. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm being so relatable. I'm being so funny. So funny. That's Miss Cracker for you. Oh dear God, she was surely having a ton of fun. Anyway, was she bad? Was she good? We don't know. We saw 20% of it. What we saw of the 20% was good. I really appreciated the reference to what was her name? I cannot recall her name. When she started going with the opulence and so on, it was funny, you know. It was self-referential. It was, and that shows you that comedy is something that you build up in a smart way. Because don't forget, we make fun of Cracker. We make a ton of fun of her. We critique her a lot. But nevertheless, there is a smart person behind it. Let's not forget that. So let's give credit where credit is due. So she has this whole bit about body love and so on, and it was really good. But it wasn't as good as Shea's performance. I think that at least what we got to see from Shea's performance was the absolute best. She was so good. She had these 2 lines, and that's, you remember when I told you about building your comedy bits on the spot. And she had 2 lines. One was about Blair, when she said Blair failed his driver's test. And if you remember, Blair was he arrested, or was he? Did he just get a ticket? Well, basically Blair had a DUI. That's the problem. And I think he was on parole. And even though he was on parole, he went to film RuPaul's Drag Race season 10? Yes, season 11. Blair was on season 11. So she has this joke about Blair failing the driver's test. That was absolute genius. That was shady. That was funny. That was absolute genius. I really liked that. And she had this second joke about fisting Miss Cracker, saying that she animates only with a fist. It was so good. It was so good. It was really good, you know. Also the personal bit about going to therapy, about making fun of racial stereotypes, because you know everybody is quick to get hangry about racial issues, about being how can I say, woke in a way about racial issues. But the point of is that you really get freedom from them when you can start laughing at them lightheartedly, and that's exactly what she did for me. And she was so good. She was the clear winner for me. Of course, she was not going to be the winner because, you know, we already know who the production has chosen as the winner. The problem is, as we're going to see later on when we take a look at the public vote, we all chose differently. But nevertheless, she is not going to win this challenge, even though she was really, really good. Now, after the challenge happens, we have this moment in the workroom, and you don't see this in the main episode. This is part of Untucked. But this moment is directly after the performance of the main challenge. And you have this bit in which Blair is realizing on the spot that it's been set up to fail.
I almost feel like a little frustrated because like I felt like I was guided with my like talk with Ross and Jane. They were like, oh, we love these roasty things, like it's really funny coming from you. And then they just kind of were like, the judges were not kind of like loving they were being roasted. And I was like, y'all told me that these were good.
So y'all told me that these were good. Of course they told her that the jokes were good because they were setting her up to fail. You know, props to her for realizing it immediately. Because with Aiden, if she realized what happened to her during season 12, she didn't really share it with us. But with Blair, we have it immediately. Immediately, when the challenge is over, she's immediately realizing that something was really wrong during the rehearsal. They were lying to her. So, of course, they told her that their jokes were good because they were setting her up for fail. Now, chat, Blair was on season 12. Yes, correction. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's getting late, as usual, and I actually have a little bit of a problem of remembering the queens from the past 3 seasons. So from season 10 on, for some reason they didn't stick into my mind that much. It could be because of the because they were not as memorable as the queens from season before. It could be because maybe I lost a little bit of interest in the show. I don't know, but for some reason I have a problem of remembering the queens of the last seasons. It just happens. Anyway, it was nice to see this moment from Blair because it shows that she's not an idiot. You know, she fell for it, but clearly she fell for it because of circumstances, not because she is a gullible idiot. So props to her. Props to her. She has shown amazing growth during this competition, not as much as justifying a top 3, but since season 10, she did incredible. She did absolutely incredible. So props to her. It was nice to see her, and let's hope for the best for her future career. So moving on to the runway. This runway was what was the theme of the runway? It was Freak Out. The outfits were all really good. The one that I liked the least was Blair's. I don't know what I found not so enjoyable about it, because I usually like what Blair's is wearing. It could be because she's wearing a mask. So we all kind of had a kind of post-traumatic stress disorder with masks, so it could be because of that, but I don't think so. I just don't like this leotard with things put on it. It looks like a kind of this jumpsuit with an afterthought of stuff putting on, so I didn't really like it. I thought Jujubee's was incredible. There was a ton of effort and a ton of money probably spent behind that outfit, and I liked a lot Shay's outfit and the way that she was kind of telling a story during the runway. But there is no question for me that the best one was for Miss Cracker. Most of all because she presented two looks in one, which is always a big plus. But the second outfit was simply incredible. So when I was looking at it, part of my brain was asking, why do you like it so much? You don't like her. Why do you like the outfit so much? And another part of my brain responded, because you are an objective person and you can separate between the way you feel and the way you think. And then a third part of my brain said the other two part of my brain, shut the fuck up. She looks good because she looks like Aquaria. That's why she looks good. Anyway, I think she looked the best. There is no question about it. Now, was that enough to win? I absolutely don't think so. Because we have been shown time and time again that the runway never counts. In this competition, the runway counts only when it agrees with the storyline that were set prior to filming, in my opinion. So if the outfit is good as the queen and the queen is set to win, then the outfit would be judged really well. If the outfit is bad and the queen is set to fail, then the outfit will be judged really bad. Otherwise, it's a ton of bullshit. So if that's how we're going to go, then for me, the winner of this challenge was Shea Coulee. And that's it. I will not get any question about it. That's who should have won for me. Most of all because she's not a comedy queen, and she did incredible. She did absolutely incredible. And you know that they could have edited her out to basically be a dumpster fire, but maybe for all of those 5 minutes she was consistently incredible, and this is what I think happened. So we move on to the judging. And of course it's the judging, and it's the judging of RuPaul's Drag Race under VH1, so it's going to be a load of bullshit, as usual. So they go on and they start with Jujubee and they completely eat her alive. Then they go to Blair and they said, oh, your outfit is fashion. Your outfit is elevated and it's fashion. Let's look back at it compared to the other outfits. That's elevated and fashion. I don't know. Everything is getting the contrary of everything, because I absolutely don't get what the hell are they doing with Blair. If they just like to fuck up with her mind or what. Because she did awful during rehearsal and they told her it was incredible. Then she presented this low effort outfit and they told her, ooh, that is elevated, that is fashion. I don't get it. I don't get what they're doing. I absolutely don't get it. Anyway, moving on, we move to Miss Cracker. And when we move on to Miss Cracker, we got one of the most insightful critique that we'd ever had. It's incredible. I completely shit my pants when this was happening because, I made a clip about this. But try to imagine that while you're going to see this was playing up in my mind while I was watching this episode. That's exactly how it went on in my mind.
All your jokes were the sort of compliment insults, which are manipulative in the best way. All your jokes were the sort of compliment insults, which are manipulative in the best way. Manipulative in the best way. In the best way. In the best way. Manipulative in the best way. Best way. Best way.
Manipulative in the best way. In the best way. And you tell me that none of you think about that while this critique was playing. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. You know, it was hilarious actually, because you know, probably this guy doesn't know anything about what has been going on with Miss Cracker for years. What's going on social media, the way she's relating to other queens, the fact that it's been reported multiple times that nobody wants to work with her and everything, you know, it's somehow it's kind of a payback for having to witness to her relatable confessionals force-fed to us over and over and over. Manipulative in the best way. So, after this, we've moved to Shay, and of course, since Shay doesn't have to win, they told her that her outfit was safe. It was safe and not elevated. Let's take a look back at it. That outfit was safe and not elevated. So, you know, that's the judging for you all. So the queens moved back to the workroom, and immediately back in the workroom, there is something, I don't know, something strange that's going on with Cracker's confessionals. I don't know if any of you notice. But let's take a look at it. Tell me if you notice something strange going on with this.
When I hear that I'm the winner, I think two things. First of all, I did it! And second of all, I'm gonna have to vote someone off today. I love every one of these girls, but it's not about that today.
What is it? What is it? It's something, I don't know. Something in the head, maybe. I don't know. Let's take a look at this image. For example, they stitched 3 different confessionals from 3 different days in order to make Miss Cracker say exactly what they wanted to say. And they forgot if they wanted to say something. They could have just asked, you know. You know. They could have just, oh, you know, Cracker, you have to say this. Why don't we refilm it and you say it again? Oh, okay, I'm going to say it again. But, you know, the reason why I think that they stitched these 3 things together, it's because they wanted the relatable face in the middle. That's what ties everything in, you know. That's what ties all of the confessionals together. It's that relatable face right there. Moving on to the lip sync, we have Kennedy Davenport. Can we all agree on the fact that this song was absolutely awful for a lip sync? I mean, the queens also said there is a moment in Untucked in which Shay says, "I'm happy that I didn't win, so I don't have to lip sync to that song." That's how bad the song was. And it's not because the song is bad in and on itself. The song is good. The problem is, it's not really a good lip sync song. You know, at least not for the kind of lip syncs that we're going to see, that we got used to see on Drag Race. It's country, you know? It's country. And the problem with country is that it's a difficult genre. That's just about it. There's not much movement. You have to embody the meaning of the song, and that's, of course, that's important for every song, but for country even more, because country always has this very personal vibe coming with the song. So of course, you know, it's country, and Miss Cracker thought that doing this song with twists and twirls was the way to approach the song. So and Kennedy, I don't know what was going on with Kennedy. I don't know if they told her to, you know, take it down a notch because they had to give away this money, since there's clearly not going to be a winner for the lip sync for your legacy next episode. They're going to lip sync for the crown. So they had to give away this money. I think, and I like to believe, that they told her to take it down a notch, because Kennedy Davenport could have killed completely that song. And I will tell you this much: what I have seen from her was really, really good. And I don't know if it was because Cracker was so bad during the lip sync, or because I saw what I wanted to see. but she did a good job on the song. She could have done so much better, but she did a good job. Nevertheless, our relatable queen is the winner. And of course, she eliminates Blair. Because since the beginning of the episode, everybody knew that Blair had to go home. One way or the other, Blair had to go home. So, we got a third win for our relatable queen, which I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, has the most win of everybody else. Will she win next episode as well? I don't know, since we've seen Gigi Good winning a last episode on season 12 when it was the norm that nobody would win the last episode. Maybe she will get a fourth win. Because, you know, we are stupid, so we need to be force-fed. The queen that they chose to be the winner. And of course they chose Cracker, but not because Cracker is Cracker. I think that they chose Cracker because she has a huge following on social media. And you know, this is what they do on the show. Whoever has the biggest name already on social media will be elevated further by the show. Everybody else can go home. We saw it happening before, but we saw it happening especially on All Stars. If you remember what happened with Trixie Mattel. Of course, this is not to take anything away from Trixie herself as a person or as a performer. But what we got to see of her during Drag Race was absolutely underwhelming. That's not an environment that allows a person like Trixie Mattel to shine. Nevertheless, she was declared the winner. Even though we've all seen that lip sync. Anyway, after this, RuPaul asks us to vote for which queen we would like to win. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but whenever she mentions the different queens, they all have a sound effect. So Jujubee has this ding, and Miss Cracker has this kind of drum rolling, and Shea Coulee has a shady noise. I'm serious. This happened. When she said Team Shea, they played a shady noise. And I made a clip of this so that you can, all of you can hear, and you cannot miss it.
Which queen do you think deserves to win? Are you Team Jujubee, Team Miz Cracker, or Team Shea Coulee? Shea Coulee, Shea Coulee, Shea Coulee.
You see? I mean, they could have never imagined what was going to happen this year, could they? But you know, post-editing is something that can be done and can be achieved. We've seen that happen with Sherry Pie in season 12. Nevertheless, they decided that playing a shady noise after Shea Coulee was the way to go. Nevertheless, so I don't know what they are doing, I don't know what they are going for, but for some reason they are pushing Cracker so much. And what makes me angry, it's not the fact that they chose someone to push forward, because favoritism is something that we all have to deal with in life, that it's just part of life and it's everywhere. And the moment you start developing an eye for it, you're going to see it everywhere. So you just come to terms with it and learn to live with it. The problem is not the favoritism itself. The problem is when you elevate someone at the expenses of somebody else. So you do not simply take someone and say, okay, you bettered yourself when compared to this performance that you had before. So you have grown. That is elevating someone. Elevating someone by diminishing somebody else, it's a complete different thing, because you say, oh, you are so much better than this person who is so much worse. And of course, the other person, it's not just so much worse. It was brought down to be so much worse. And this is what makes me so angry about what's been going on for the past years on the VH1. Because this is the product that World of Wonder is producing for this big network with a big influence and the taste of an 8-year-old. You know, there's no wittiness anymore, there's no talent anymore. Well, of course there is talent, but you know, there is no more shining talent, you know? free talent, raw talent, because they cannot afford to be raw anymore, because they can be edited like bitches, because the show is pandering to the lowest common denominator. So every time they elevate someone, they always elevate that someone at the expenses of somebody else. In this case, Jujubee and Shea Coulee. And that is the problem that I have with Miz Cracker, which is not a problem with the person, it's a problem with an edit. Of course, I also have a problem with the person, but that is another story for another stream, or maybe even another video. So let's take a look at this Twitter polls and see how things are actually doing for these queens. Now, I don't know if you notice a kind of subtle shade thrown at Jujubee. Can you notice something? I don't know. There is just something about her picture that it's kind of different from the others. But, you know, maybe it's just my imagination. Anyway, look at the people have spoken. The people have spoken. So, looking at the retweets, Jujubee has double the retweets of Cracker, and Shea has almost double the retweets of Jujubee. And when it comes to the likes, Jujubee has double the likes of Miz Cracker, and Shea has almost 40% more likes than Jujubee. That's how we have spoken. So, in spite of the editing, in spite of the critiques that we've seen, in spite of the winnings, in spite of all of this, we have all spoken. There is one queen there, and we already chose our winner. And this is the most important thing of all, because independently of what is going to happen next week, it is us who will support these queens. It is us who will pay their paycheck and help them pay their bills. Because remember, $100,000 is nothing for them. When you have such a name that you can command $10,000 to $15,000 for a one-night appearance, and you can manage to make 2 or 3 appearances a week, $100,000 is absolutely nothing. So the real price of this competition is us. And as far as I'm concerned, Shea already won it. So if she will be crowned, I will be very happy. If she will not be crowned, I'm happy anyway, because she got our love, and that was the most important thing of all. Now, let's move on to our Kiki time. Let's go to a couple of comments that I've seen real quick, and then I want to tell you a little bit what's been going on this week, because it's been kind of a crazy week for us. A crazy week. What was it? It was a comment from Fantasia, who said, please add that to the channel. And I don't know what she's referring to. So if you can please write it down. Because I see this comment who said, Ongina's look was definitely freaky. Blair and Shea's were dressed alike. You need to publish that song. Please add it to the channel. So I don't know what you're referring to. So please leave it in the comments so that I can get an idea. Anyway, so we were scheduled to publish a video this week. It was part of the series on Gigi Good that I call the Good Chronicles. It's going to be a 3-parter, and the first part was going to be published this week. The problem is that we had a little bit of a problem with Marble. If you know Marble, she is the mascot of the channel. She is kind of a resident in the live streams, and we brought her to the vet last Monday because she's getting old. She's one year and a half old, and in mice years it's like 50 to 60 years old. So we took her to the vet because she was scratching a little bit too much. And basically she was diagnosed with mites. Now the problem with mites is that they are easy to be taken care of, but you have to be absolutely careful. So she received treatment for this. It's like a topical treatment. It's no big deal. It's a no-brainer. But the problem is that you have to sterilize everything in the environment. And if you have seen the pictures of the cage or the video of whatever it is, you know that the cage is massive, and it's built in wood. So we basically had a choice. We either disinfect the cage completely with isopropanol, which is an alcohol that evaporates 100%. It's different from drinking alcohol because it doesn't leave any residues behind. So we either spray the hell out of it with alcohol multiple times, knowing that you will never get in the nooks and crannies that are basically part of the pores of the wood. Or we completely dismantle the whole cage, which I have a picture here. We completely dismantle the whole cage, sand it down, and then re-wax it and house marble somewhere else temporarily. So ultimately, we decided to take everything down, sand it down, disinfect everything anyway, and redo the whole cage, and take also the time to do some minor repairs that needed to be done. So long story short, we had an absolutely hell of a week, because if you have ever sanded anything, you know that it's going to be a long process, and it's going to be messy as hell. Messy, you have no idea the amount of dust that I had to deal with, that we had to deal with. So if you're kind of a messy person and you think you have a messy room and you are not organized, and you know, this picture is for you to make you feel better about yourself. This is the kind of environment that we found ourselves for the whole week, because every moment of free time that we had during the day was dedicated to taking care of this damn cage, which, you know, it's a ton of work, but we kind of knew what we were getting into when we decided to build this massive thing. This is the outside part of the cage finished. It's a whole furniture. We built a whole furniture. When you decide to build something like this in wood, you're going to be making a huge favor to your pets, because it's a natural material. It's better than plastic. And they have more space, but the problem is you are going to face this kind of problems, especially with parasites. So we've been doing this all week, and we're not finished yet, because this is the way you see the cage is how it is right now. I have basically all the floors on the desk. You cannot see me, but I am kind of in a corner, in a tiny area of the desk, because all the space in the desk has the floors of the cage, the two big floors, the new floor, and the two floating floors of the cage. So it's been a hell of a week, and it's not even over, because we're still waxing it to give it the wood a little bit of protection, because, you know, mice kind of pee everywhere. So we gave it a coat of wax. It still needs another coat. It will receive it tomorrow, and then Marble can get back in the cage, and I can get back to video editing. So, you know, we set a tiny play area for Marble on the dining table, and for the whole week we've been eating on the bed or on the sofa, because Marble was on the table. Marble was on the table, the study was full of dust, the desks were completely filled up, and it was a terrible week. But, you know, thankfully we are basically over it. So I really hope that this time I get this video out, because, you know, I feel sometimes I feel like there is something in the universe that is really telling me, just leave Gigi Good alone. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because first we had that copyright claim, then we had the copyright strike, then we had to deal with the cage. I don't know what's going to happen this week. I don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, I'm starting to realize that from the other side, I kind of look like an idiot, because it's been 6 weeks that I'm telling a video is coming out, I'm working on a video, I'm doing it, and it never comes out. Which of course goes in line with the official name, the unofficial name of the channel, which is Late RPDR Videos. So we're going to see this week if we can finish that damn video. And I don't know if you noticed, on the desk there is there is a piece of paper back here. That is, I don't know if you realize that, but that is the background of Gigi's lip sync for the finale of season 12. And what you see on the right, it's going to be the screen on which we put that background. That's because I have part of it that I still need to film. So it's fucked up. It's fucked up. I cannot be sorry enough. Most of all because I've been kind of hyping this video, and it feels like, you know, I'm kind of hooking people up on this, and it's never coming out, and it's really annoying. And I completely understand that, and I understand the frustration. So, moving on to the comments. Lady Baconator, Kennedy tried, but the song didn't give him much to work with. Completely agree. Completely agree. Corelio, don't joke about that. Don't joke about what? Oh, Kennedy didn't know the words, did she? Well, that song had like 1,000 words. It was that bad. I don't even know why they chose it. Maybe it was in the catalog, you know, because VH1 is part of a big corporation, which is the CBS Viacom Corporation, which of course has its hands in music as well. So most of the time, what happens with this big corporation is that they will try to use music from their own catalog. Because if they do that, they don't have to pay royalties for it, because they would end up paying royalties to themselves. So maybe, you know, maybe that's kind of something that was going on. Delta Schlin says, I thought the assassins were doing it for free or cheap. They don't win the money tip. That is difficult to say. We have speculated that some of the lip sync assassins were basically there for free due to contractual obligation. So we know from the contract that the queens have to appear either for free or for a very, very tiny amount of money for a fixed number of appearances for the duration of the exclusivity period, which is basically a period of time that starts after the last episode of the season airs, and it lasts for anywhere between 12 and 24 months. That depends on the contract, on the actual contract. So for the duration of this period of time, they have to appear basically for free. And we know that this was filmed last year. And last year, when they were filming this, season 11 was over for about 2 months. And we had 2 queens from season 11. So I speculated that, you know, they had 2 queens from season 11 because they didn't have to pay them. Now, speaking of not paying, let's not forget that appearing on Drag Race is a huge boost for the queens. So I wouldn't be surprised if queens like Roxy Andrews or Kennedy Davenport agreed to basically appear for free, because that's just how business works. If you can not force, but you know, if you can entice someone to come without being paid, you will probably take advantage of it. That's not just, you know, that's not just a thing of Drag Race or World of Wonder or VH1. That's how business works. It's sad. It's really sad, because clearly they have the money for paying them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did that for free. At least the ones who were not contractually obligated to appear. Lady Baconator, apparently the lip sync song used in the episode that had Alyssa and Kennedy as the assassins were swapped at the last minute. Oh, that's interesting, but you know, I cannot imagine Alyssa lip syncing to this song. This is really not something that works well with her style. I don't get why they didn't get Chad Michaels. Well, I kind of get it. They probably had to pay them, you know. Chad Michaels or even Latrice lip syncing to this song. But you know, I think we have the answers to that. They probably had to pay them. I mean, can you imagine Chad Michaels coming back for free? Or Latrice After the way she was treated in All Stars 4, coming back for free, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I'm happy that Kennedy got a little bit of exposure because she needs it. She's an incredible queen and she's incredibly underrated in her own way. And what I like about her is that she's really realistic. You know, she has her feet stuck on the ground, which rubs some people the wrong way, but not in my case. Not in my case at all. Dixie, hello everybody. Sorry I'm late. Glad I made it. Dixie, I met you last week, didn't I? I think it was on Sherry's Suctorium. Something like that. You were doing the meet and greet or something? Delta Schlin says, it would explain why all of the assassins were in LA at the time of filming. Some, like Ivy, are still under contract to do appearances for Drag Race related projects for free. Yes, by contract. I wouldn't be surprised if they still are. But you know, 24 months is more than enough. Jaylin Beno, I noticed the shady noise on Shay. Yes, God. I mean, come on. They didn't need to do that. It was just so gratuitous, you know. That is the last moment in which you ask us to vote, and you're basically telling our subliminally, don't vote for Shay. Don't vote for Shay. I mean, come on. Luis Felipe. So the queen with the most followers will win. That's what usually happens with All Stars. You know, we've seen it happen in the main seasons. Not necessarily that they would win, but usually queens with huge following, they will be pushed a little bit more than anybody else. You will see during normal seasons good queens who make a tiny misstep one episode and go home. And then you will see other queens who get forgiven time and after time and after time. And when you make a statistic of it, you start to realizing that a ton of these queens have huge following on social media. So it just doesn't happen by chance. I don't think there is any possibility that it only happened by chance. It's part of the way that you make business, you know? You get people around you that are already famous, that already have a following. That's how you keep the show relevant. It's sad, but then again, it's business. That's how business works. Delta Schlin said, at Lady Baconator, do you have receipts for the switch in the lip sync? It was probably a leak. But we'll see about that. Fantasia, I'm talking about the clip you made of the guest judge calling Cracker manipulative. You know, if I have the time, I can make a little bit of a short clip, a short episode to tie together all of what happened during this episode. I think we did something like that. No, not I think. We did something like that for one episode of season 12. Yes, why not? Why not? I mean, people are going to hate us anyway, because, you know, I am going to release an episode of Cracker, no matter what. The only problem is, will it be one episode or will it be 2 episodes? That's the only question that we have. So we'll see, but you know, I really want to prioritize the Gigi video because it's been so long. It's been so long. So we'll see about that. If I can get the Gigi video out early this week, like on I don't know, on Tuesday or on Wednesday, then yes, because it makes no sense to release this before the new episode. No, sorry, it makes no sense to release such a video after the new episode of All Stars airs, unless we make a kind of you know, looking back at the whole season and we mash up together all the shady editing that went on during the season. It could be. It depends on the time. Right now, I have 2 priorities for this week, apart from keeping my life together, which is finishing Cage for Marble and getting the Gigi video out. Emily Butler, why do they give queens like Cracker and Gigi that heavy edit? How have they not figured out this is not what people want? Do they like the discourse it creates on social media? Sorry, I need to drink something. My mouth is getting dry. Why do they do it? That's an excellent question. I have no idea why they do it. I do not see any reasonable reason why they should keep doing this. But I can make some informed opinions on it. Let's call them like that, informed opinions. And I think that's because most of the people do not realize that this is happening. They are not, they're not as invested as we all are in the show. They are not really obsessed with the show, but most of all, I think they don't have the kind of emotional attachment that all of us have toward the show, toward the queen, toward the meaning of this show, especially for queer people. They don't have this. They are just casual viewers. And when you are a casual viewer, you just don't notice things. And unless you are presented with the same message consistently over and over and over again, you will not even get that because you're just too distracted. You are just, maybe watching the show while you're doing other things. You're maybe swapping between channels. So unless they are giving this simple message over and over again, they just don't get it. And this is why we have edits like the hero edit, to push a queen over and over and over again. Now the point is, why this queen in particular? Well, for Gigi, we're going to have another video coming out for Gigi for the reason why she received such an edit. For Miss Cracker, we just discussed it. It's basically the most successful queen by social media following of all the queens that appeared on All Stars 5. But if the question is, why do they give out such kind of edits, like hero edits? That is because they absolutely need to reiterate a message. So whenever they choose a specific edit to tell a story, which can be a villain edit, it can be a hero edit, it can be a narrating edit, or it can even be sorry, I'm missing the name. What's the word? A redemption edit, like it happened with ID last season. They need to repeat the same message over and over and over again, because what they're really interested in is not us anymore. You guys have to understand this. We are not the target audience anymore. The target audience are people at home, mostly straight people, mostly straight women, who are swapping between channels and they happen to watch Drag Race. They are the vast majority of the viewers at the moment. So of course they're trying to pander to what's the vast majority of their viewers. And this is what I think is happening, because when the show was pandering to people like us, it used to be much smarter. We still had hero edits, we still had underdog edits, but they were done with style. You know what I mean? When you think back at queens like Sharon Needles and the edit she received, she was an underdog, yes, but she was also a hero. That's because she had a mixed up edit. She was an underdog hero, and that gave the character depth. Because the kind of audience that they were pandering to were smart queer people. Now they're pandering to casual viewers or young people who don't really notice this kind of nuances. I call it nuances, but the real word would be normal behavior. So I hope that answered the questions. Dixie, I'm sorry to hear that. After all your hard work, you had to go through that. I know Marble is well worth it, but what a tough job for you guys. You're such good parents. Thank you, Dixie. But it had to be done one way or the other. It had to be done because if any of you guys will ever choose to build a wooden cage, I can tell you that it is much cheaper than buying a plastic one. It's much healthier for your animal, but it needs much more maintenance. So when we built this, we already knew that every X number of years we had to take it apart, send it down. It just happened a little bit sooner than what we were projecting, because we were projecting of having to do this during the Christmas holidays. So, and the problem is that we were not prepared for it. Because if we were prepared, I could have had, a proper setting for Marble, not just staying on this place that she has on the dinner table. So she is fine. I mean, we gave her a tunnel with soil, with real soil, sterilized soil, of course, in the oven. If any of you ever need to sterilize soil, put it in the oven, 80 degrees Celsius, 2 hours. Don't cook in the oven immediately afterwards. And she looks kind of happy, but it had to be done. Fantasia, you are putting in the work. Yes, we are. We are. On top of everything that's going on already. Dixie, I love to both of you are wonderful people. You never look like idiots to us. Please do not apologize. Thank you, but I'll give the apologies anyway. Fantasia, so what do you know about how much or what the company, WoW or VH1 or whoever, gets from the Queen YouTube channel or merge? Oh, Fantasia! I like that question. I have no idea how much they get. I have no idea. Again, I can make a guess, an informed guess, and I can tell you that I believe that they take no less than 40%. Maybe with the newest queen even more. Because you know that already in the contract for season 8, the payment for the YouTube channel, this is, no, I cannot pull up the contract because it's in, I've printed it in GIFs. So I don't know if I have to find it out. Well, take my word for it. We are going to see it. It will come out in videos, so you will see it. But basically, in the contract was written that the income from the YouTube channel doesn't go to the queens anymore. It goes to World of Wonder. Then World of Wonder retains part of it. It's not written how much, but retains part of it, and then pays back the queens the rest. So you do understand that I am not really happy with the fact that these people work their ass off on YouTube. And we have a channel here on YouTube, and if you've been following long enough, you know the tribulations that you have to go through for having a channel, all the bullshit that you have to deal with, all the difficulties that are continuously put on you time after time after time, rules that means everything and nothing, videos that get put down without reason, monetization taken away. It's a dumpster fire. So these people work their ass off. People like Cracker, for example, who have a very successful channel on YouTube, and their income, they are not even told you have to pay us a certain amount. No, they are told get us your money, then we will pay you back what you're owed, which is, it's kind of a spit in the face. It's kind of a spit in the face. Because you could simply say, give me access to your analytics so that I can verify that you're actually giving me the right percentage of money. They could say that. But the fact that they are not doing it, at least from the contract that we have, it's really insulting. It's really insulting. And makes you think by the fact that Review with a Jew is not going to appear for All Stars. She's not making it. You know why? Well, I have no idea why, but I can make a guess why it's not going to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't going to happen for copyright reason. So, which kind of copyright reason? Well, I don't know. But, there are a myriad of reasons why it could have not happened. Maybe there is a clause in the contract that everything produced during the exclusivity period will get tied to World of Wonder one way or another. Maybe they get copyright on it, or they get free usage from it, because then again, there are a lot of middle ways in which people can be taken advantage of. It's not just like, okay, we take the money from the channel and everything on it is ours. That is unreasonable. But what they can say is, well, everything that you produce during this exclusivity period, we can use it for free, for example. For making clips, for I don't know. It can be a ton of different things. And the point is, unless you have some sort of inside knowledge, it's very difficult to predict what it could be. What I can tell you, it's probably what's the tone of it, how it's going to go down. So it is how it is. You have to understand. Drag Race is the biggest, how can I call it, phenomenon when it comes to doing drag. It's a huge opportunity, it's huge visibility, it can completely change your life. So when you have this kind of leverage, especially as a big company who is part of a big corporation, you're going to take advantage of everything that you can take advantage of, because people want to be on the race. That's plain and simple. Why do you think that Trinity maxed out 2 credit cards to prepare to get the outfits for All Stars 4? Why do you think queens, even unknown queens who happen to be cast on the normal season, spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on outfits? They all go in red, and they do it for an opportunity. So the fact that they are willing to spend this kind of money already tells you how many things they are probably going to be willing to give up in order to be on the race, because it really is the opportunity of a lifetime, and the production knows this. And if they are smart, and they are smart, they're going to try to do business as much as they can. And all of this bullshit is part of business. But of course, we are told nothing on it, because what we are presented is only the entertaining part of the race. Everything that goes around it, and especially behind it, it's carefully hidden away. At times we have queens like Trinity who are smart enough to know their way around a non-disclosure agreement. Because if you have ever listened to a Trinity podcast, and the way she words everything, you realize that there is a very smart person behind it. Because the way she words things, you cannot hold her accountable for breaking NDAs by the way she's wording things. But she's still getting things out, which is something that I really appreciate from her. Moving on. Where were I? Oh, Delta Schlin. Read my second comment, you. Oh, where was it? I don't know. What was it to me? Was it to the readers? Fantasia, Kennedy should have stayed at home for that performance. That did nothing to enhance her career. Well, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. I didn't mind it. Mostly I was happy to see Kennedy again. And like it or not, it's going to help her career, I think. It's still going to help her career. At least it reminds people that she exists. Because in a sea of dozens and dozens of queens, how many queens do we have already? 130, 120? No, what am I saying? Derek Barry was the 100th queens. And that was on season 8. So we almost have 200 queens already. It's good time. It's still good time to be on television, even for those 2 minutes. Dixie, we did meet, yes? Oh, you got it. That's nice. And continues, Fantasia, I agree 100%, especially seeing Kennedy spoke at length about her unbroken lip sync record and then walked on that stage and did nothing. I honestly think that they told her to do nothing, because if you've seen Kennedy perform, that was not Kennedy what I saw. So either she was high on something, maybe she met up with Asia, sorry, sometimes before the show. Or they told her to tune it down, because they had to give that money away one way or another. What were they going to do? Donate it to charity? No, come on, they had to give it. Corelio, the audio is kind of weird. Is it just for me? PBS Mills, yeah. Okay, I hope so, because it's been... Oh yeah, I see some kind of weird thing happening with the microphone. Wait a moment. Yeah, I think I kind of have background noise on the microphone. I don't know if it's there when I'm speaking, but I can see the microphone jumping up and down. That, I'm sorry, it's not a problem that I can fix, not right away at least, because the problem is that we have a shitty microphone. This is like a middle of the pack microphone that I grabbed when I was doing the chop for season 12, and I realized that the microphone that I had was really, really shitty. So right now we are saving all of the money that comes from the Patreon and from the advertisement that YouTube puts on the channel. We're saving it for a computer, because that's really the most important thing. So unless the microphone is really, really unbearable, I would prefer to save whatever we have for a proper desktop for encoding. And you will be more happy about it, because it means more video and faster. Lady Baconator, I'm interested in your Gigi and Miss Cracker videos. Yes, if I get them out. My God. Lady Baconator, it feels like Miss Cracker is trying to force a meme, but does not understand that memes happened organically and are not forced. Yes, you cannot make meme happen. Everybody has been chasing around memes since forever. I think since memes basically made Alyssa Edwards, at least in the minds of all of the viewers. Because if you knew her before, you were probably already on board. But since that, and since Vanjie, do you remember with who was it? Season 11. Damn, at this time I always forget names. Silky Ganache. She tried to force this meme in the beginning that was this attitude check. Fuck you, bitch. Do you remember that? You've seen it in episode 1 of season 11, and that was so awkward. And a ton of other ones of people who try to force memes, force thing into into our daily life, and they just don't work, and it's just so embarrassing in a way. But I've seen worse things than Cracker's confessionals on the season, and one of that was Silky's thing. That was really, really awful. It was really awful. But you might think it's stupid. I certainly think it's kind of stupid to work this hard for a meme, but we have to keep in mind how powerful memes are. Meme can make you $1 million career, and I'm not exaggerating, but that's exactly what happened with Vanjie. I mean, look at Vanjie. Okay, she's likable, there is no question about it. She's funny, she's part of the Matteo family, whatever it is. But if you knew her before she was Miss Vanjie, you would have just say this is just a loud person who cannot put on a female voice and with a questionable style and fashion sense. That's what you would say. That's who Miss Vanjie was before she was Miss Vanjie, at least in the minds of all of us. But that is the power of memes, and that's why they chase them. The problem is it's allowed to chase a meme, but at least don't let it show so much, because it's not a good look. You start to look desperate, you know, and people don't like desperate people. That's the whole problem. It has to be entertaining. If you try too hard, people are going to look down at you. That's true for everything. It's not just Drag Race, it's not just entertainment. It's everywhere in life. I mean, think about it. Even when you date someone, for example, who is really trying so hard, it's off-putting. You know, suddenly the opposite is more true. The less I see you trying, and it's working anyway, and the more I'm attracted to it, because it looks like, you know, it comes off normally. You're not even trying. You don't even need to try. That's attractive. That's the problem. Fantasia, what is going in the background? There is a rubbing sound going on. Yes. Shit. Yes. It's the microphone. And it's still there. I still see it happening. Damn. Maybe if I move it a little bit, maybe there is a bad contact. No, it still keeps going on. I'll have it checked. I will open it up. Maybe the capacitor inside is starting to fail, so it doesn't filter the background noise anymore. I will check it next week. So whatever is going on with it, I hope it's not going on while I speak. So at least it's not that off-putting, but at the moment there is really not much that I can do. I don't have another microphone to just plug in and start talk, at least not of good quality. Emily Butler, what's your favorite season between 1 and 6 to rewatch? It's going to be season 2 without a doubt. It's one of the most real seasons that we have ever had. It's incredible, but of course you have to watch it keeping in mind that it was a different time. It was a different time. Drag Race was not Drag Race yet, and everybody was simply there with their wardrobe trying to do the best they could, thinking that they were participating in something that was similar to other reality shows like Big Brother or The Bachelor or Survivors, especially Survivors. But it's an incredible rewatch, and most of all, it has some of my favorite queens on it. We have Tatiana in season 2, and we also have Jessica Wilde, and Jessica was absolutely adorable. Absolutely adorable. I don't know what the hell they are doing when they cast All Stars that they do not call Jessica Wilde. She was one of the most lovable queen, genuinely lovable queen, because you know a lot of queens appear lovable on screen, but when you take a closer look and you start following them on social media, you start to realize, well, it's maybe, yes, it's not that apart from Ivy Winters. She is the only exception for me. Everybody else kind of falls a little bit in between, but with Jessica and Ivy, they just look like this pure people. It's just so refreshing to watch. So absolutely season 2 without any doubt, and when you're done, go back to season 1, because that's the most genuine you will ever see RuPaul on Drag Race. On season 1 she was actually giving advice to everyone. It's amazing to see today. Corelio, that's what I said about the audio, that weird rubbing sound. Yes, it's the background noise. It's not being filtered out. Jaylene Beno, if a new queen were to enter Drag Race, what would be the best way to them to enter Drag Race and beat the editing, if that's even possible? Oh, Jaylene, that's a fantastic question. The best way to beat the editing is to not compete against it. You are going to receive your edit no matter what. A lot of queens think, that they can go on the race and manipulate the edit. That's simply not going to happen. The editors have become too good of their job. The producers have become too lazy to actually do a proper job, in my opinion. And the times are different. The only queen that I know of that was able to actually make her own edit was Bianca Del Rio back in season 6. That is the only queen that I can think of who was completely able to manipulate the edit 100%. But you know, if Bianca Del Rio would have competed today, that wouldn't have happened. Because the producers became too good in doing what they do. So the best advice that I can give it is to go along with the kind of edit that you're going to receive. But the best way to deal with it, because you have to learn to deal with it, because it's going to happen while you compete, and it's going to happen once the show is over and you get to see it on television. The best way to deal with it is to go on therapy. Book some good therapy sessions. That will allow you to understand what makes you tick. That will allow you to understand how to deal with yourself. Because don't forget, these queens, they get a psychological evaluation before getting on the show. So they already know their characters. They know, sorry, not their characters, their character. They know their traits, okay? They know what makes them tick. So they know it, and it's best for you if you know it. So go to a therapist, book some sessions, understand what makes you tick. Understand what triggers you. Understand how you appear if someone wants to reduce you to the lowest possible denominator. And then use that knowledge to make the best that you can do with the kind of edit that you're probably going to receive. Because if you keep your eyes open during the competition, you already notice which kind of edit you're going to get and which kind of edit everybody else is going to get. Because you have the critiques on stage, for example. You know, a dress that is not that good, a performance that is not that good, and gets praised already gives you very good information. And be aware of whatever happens behind the scenes with the talent handlers, with the producers doing confessionals, because they are the one pushing you into what's going to be your storyline. The problem is, if you are pushed into it, you're not really going to get much of an idea of what kind of editing you're actually getting. Because think about queens like Brita, for example. During her season, she had this moment with Aiden, and if you look back at the untucked moments, but also from mini clips that appeared in episodes after it, you realize that a good half a dozen of queens were of the same opinion of Brita. The problem is, their opinion were not brought out as much as Brita's. And probably behind the scenes, she was told things like, well, everybody agrees with you, it was unprofessional for Aiden to sleep in front of everybody, you should say something about it, and things like this. And you don't know if they're telling you that because you're going to get a hero edit, because you're calling bitches out for being bitches, or because you're getting a villain edit. And that's going to be used against you. You don't know that. But guess what? When you're dealing with the judges and see the way they judge other queens, you get an insight on their real storylines. And that is the moment in which you have to pay the most attention. So once you have understood which kind of edit you receive, do the best you can to get the most out of it in the best possible way. So if you're going to get a villain edit, at least try to be a funny villain, a funny, light-hearted villain. A villain with a heart of gold. You know, it's possible to have that kind of edit, and if it works really well, the editors are lazy, they're going to use it. You know, it doesn't interfere with their plans, it just enhances them in the best way, and you have to take advantage of that. You know, that's the advice that I would give to all the new queens competing. But you know, I'm going to make a video about that at some point. I shouldn't have been saying that, because I say it for everything and then they never come out. But that's a work in progress. Dixie, I was watching a playlist of season 2, 3, and 4 clips, and it's shocking when you watch with open eyes. Looks like a different show. It is a different show. It is a different show. Yes. It is a different show. A show I still deeply, deeply love. Deeply. And I hope that it's going to come back. You know, not just a shadow of it that we get to see from time to time. A proper comeback. And if it doesn't, well, at least maybe some other shows that can take example from it. Dixie, speaking of Sharon Needles, thoughts? Or are we not discussing that? What do you mean about Sharon Needles? I know that she had some drama going around it because of the way she was dressed and so on. But you know, I kind of find drama always a little bit uninteresting for some reason. It's just that you cannot really ever pinpoint what's true, what's speculation, if things are said just to be relevant. I just cannot wrap my head around it. La Resistance, I love your videos. Thank you. Thank you. The few of them that still survive on YouTube. There is like all the other ones are on BitChute if you want to see all of them. But thank you for the compliment. Caesar Odinson II. I heard on Reddit that season 12 and All Stars 5 Queens were forbidden to do reviews for their season on YouTube. That is interesting. It's certainly possible. I wouldn't know the reason for that. It could be, if this is true, if this rumor is true, then it could be because they are afraid that something will slip out about what's really happening on the show. Because, you know, one of the most enticing, let's say it like this, one of the most enticing things about reviews done by queens who were actually on the season is the fact that they might spill some behind the scene tea. That's the most interesting thing. So maybe this could be part of the producers taking a stronger grip on how much information actually gets out. Dixie, I think Jujubee was sensible with her budget. Good for her. Yes, good for her. She could have been sensibly creative with her budget, but you know, she wasn't read to filth on her wardrobe just because it happened. You know, there was a reason for that. Oh, Juju. Delta Schlin. Heidi admitted she still had unpaid loans at the beginning of season 12. Yes, and after filming season 12, she probably had even more loans for preparing for the show. I mean, in season 12, I will never get over the fact that the queens had to prepare the cat suits in order to perform an advertisement that the show was paid for. I will never get over that, and I will continue to say it over and over and over again until everybody got the fact that the queens had to pay in order for World of Wonder to get paid. I mean, they could have just gone to the queen and said, give me 1,000, each of you. You know, because each of all the 12, or was it 13 queens this season? Because, you know, it was 13. But, you know, officially 12. Each of them had to pay for the cat suit. So they could have simply gone to them and said, yeah, give me $1,000 and get over with. Dixie, yes, it is static, not a problem. I hope so. I hope it's not that bad. I will check it out. I promise I'll check it out. Delta Schlin. I hope I pronounced that properly. It sounds like Delta Schlin. Like Schlin is a way of saying work in another language. I had said exactly what you said about contract appearances while you were reading my first comment about Assassins. I posted the read my comment while you were discussing the first. Oh, okay. Yes, that's the problem. I always read the comments a little bit later. Let me toggle. Okay, so I can see exactly when these comments came out. So I am about 15 minutes late on the comments. Let's try to speed it up. Oluta, I think yes, they told Kennedy to tone it down. She didn't look as her usual self in a heat of a lip sync. And continues, well, the best thing that came out of RuPaul's Drag Race, memes, iconic moments, memorable clapbacks, reads, and so on, they happen naturally. Fourth things you can see, and it's almost cringy. Absolutely. Absolutely to both of your comments, because I do agree that you know, it was strange seeing Kennedy like that. And the most iconic moments are the ones that happens organically. But you know, it's business. And whenever you're dealing with any kind of business, the best practice is to remove any kind of uncertainty. So if you can create things instead of wait for them to happen organically, then that is a recipe to make even more money. Mrs. G, have you continued watching Canada Drag Race? Mr. Invisible has watched it. But since I was doing most of the work for the cage, I didn't have time to watch it. I'm actually lucky enough that I managed to even make the stream, because I watched the episode this morning and then I clipped everything up and took, you know, the images and so on, and I did that this afternoon. So I didn't even know if I had time to actually make a stream this week, so I didn't follow it. I don't know if I will watch the rest of it at the moment, because I just have so many things to do, you know. I have so many things to follow. And but I will watch it. I will definitely watch it. Maybe when this season of All Stars is over and when Canada's Drag Race is over, maybe, or before a finale, whatever it is, maybe we do a recap stream and we go through the whole episodes. It could be. If I have time, surely, why not? Dixie, I need to say that I absolutely love Kennedy Davenport. She's my favorite queen and I respect her a great deal. I need to trust that whatever her reason was, it was necessary. Well, Kennedy is a very down-to-earth queen, so I'm sure that if they told her you need to tone it down, you're welcome to come, you're welcome to have a little bit of time for self-promotion. But you need to tone it down. I'm pretty sure that she did. She complied with it. Because, you know, after all, if you don't comply with this kind of things, you will be cut out from the franchise. Delta Schlin, Tim Jimbo, absolutely. Absolutely. Oluta, Mrs. G, I dropped it. Fantasia, it gets better now. I think she's referring to the audio. Yes, no mic issues, it's good now. Dixie, the sound really is not that bad. Please don't worry, it's very random. Yes, but it's also very distracting. And you know, it's really a simple microphone. It has 2 screws on the bottom. I already, you know, it's me. So of course I got a new microphone, and the first thing that I thought is, well, can I enhance it some way? So I already opened it months ago. So it really takes 15 minutes to change the capacitor on it and recheck it. And if it does the trick, why not? Because don't forget, these are kind of hobbies of mine. So it's not a chore. It's actually something that improves my time. You know, for 15 minutes, I get to be in a good mood for the next 2 hours. So I will open it up, probably after the stream. Just because I cannot wait. You know, a good reason to open something up. Dixie, I lived for Jessica Wilde. You are not the only one. You're not the only one. I was so happy to see her back in the day. At this point, back in the day. For me, it was yesterday. But for many of you, it was probably back in the day. When she appeared with all the other dozens of queens for... what was it? What's her name? Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana. Miley Cyrus, when she did that VMA performance with all of the queens, and Jessica was there. It was really nice to see her back. Oluta said to Dixie, yes, Kennedy keeps me entertained. Speaking of memes, The fuck my drag right now in my active vocabulary. Yes, we used it too in a video. That was incredible. You know, she set the tone for All Stars 3. It was really good. And after all, don't forget, it doesn't need this show. It's not a real competition. By this point, it used to be kind of a real competition, but it's not anymore. So since it's not a competition anymore, why not just drop the act and make good television? You know, do it like Naomi Smalls. Be shady. Do whatever you feel like it. Be yourself. Because if you own who you are, people are not going to care that much about who you actually are. People are going to be attracted by the fact that you own it. And this is, when you think about it, it's incredible, because everybody thinks that, yes, we like likable queens, we like sweet queens, we like... No, we don't. Most of the time, people are first attracted to a queen because of the confidence that they have. And it's not just queens, it's everyday people as well. And then, only then, people will start judging the actual person behind it. And will actually get to see the talent behind it. But the first thing, you know, that first impression is the confidence. And I will never get past that. It's just... So it's one of those things that for me is so it permeates so much about my daily life. The confidence is one of the most attractive things no matter what. Emily Butler, the dreams of the golden child, but you spell child with an S, not with a C. And Oluta, microphone sounds nice, don't care about it. I'll post pictures of the disassembled microphone at this point. Dixie, this chat is like therapy for devoted fans with open eyes. I hope so. I hope it helps. You know, it surely makes you understand the show a little bit better. A little bit better. Because, you know, after all, the show is entertaining, but what's most entertaining are the queens outside of the show, especially for those who gets to enjoy them live. You know, it's so rare to have queens actually come to Europe, and when they do come to Europe, they are usually affiliated with these big companies who want something like 70 euros for a ticket, and I'm like, girl, I don't even pay 70 euros for a proper concert by a band with 20 years of experience. You know, I cannot afford that. I cannot afford that. So it's really rare for us. But, you know, for you guys in the US who get to actually go to your local bar and see these queens that you've seen on television and see them in real life and not having to, you know, spend your actually food budget for the week in order to see them, that's incredible. That's really incredible. Oluta, actually, if Bianca competed again, I think she'll win again. Being an insult comic, she really is smart, and it will take a lot of editing to make her look horrible. Well, that's an opinion, and that is debatable, but I'm not going to debate it for the simple reason that Bianca has a $1 million career. And when I mean $1 million, I mean that my personal estimate of her annual income is about $2 to $3 million, probably even $4. And I don't think she's ever going to jeopardize that to come back to Drag Race. She was lucky enough to get out of it alive a first time, and she also said it in an interview that she's not going to come back unless it's for a big prize. Like, I would say a big prize would be at least $1 million, a good $1 million. Because, you know, when you have that kind of career, you don't put your public image in the hands of these kind of editors, if not for a very good price. And you know, the price of Drag Race is not the $100,000. It's the $1 million career that comes with it. Because, you know, 100,000, they get it like this. Didn't come out good. They get it like this. There we go. It's not the money. It's what happens to your image. You can skyrocket, or you can be completely fucked up like it happened with Britta for season 12. So let's not forget about that. Fantasia, who's watching Canada's Drag Race? Are there any thoughts? And the chat skipped. Yay! Yay! Mrs. G, do you think Juju was able to figure out the edit? She seems to flow nicely this season. I don't think, I have this impression that Juju was absolutely not in the game. And for some reason, I cannot get it out of my mind. Simply because I started to have so many questions about Juju. Like, why does she feel like she's not really herself? Why does she feel toned down? Why do her outfits look like really, really not thought out very much? Why is she generally overwhelming? And Jujubee is one of those queens that it's overperforming without even trying. That's how much charisma that person has. Airline. That's the name of Jujubee, the boy name. It's Airline. That's the person behind it. It has this natural charisma. And I really think that she really had her mind somewhere else. So I don't think she was so much in the edit anymore. I don't think she actually had the mental resources to think about the edit. I think she just went in, she just did her thing, the best that she could, and the editors took advantage of it because it's difficult not to love Jujubee. The most difficult thing is to try to make her into a villain. I don't see it, nobody would buy it, and we've been knowing her for 10 years. So, unless you're actually digging your own grave, like it happened with Latrice for All Stars 4, when she had this kind of entitled attitude, that was not something that came out of the edit. That is also part of the natural development of the person. So the edit only made it so much worse. But the point is that, that is the person behind the legend, which is a real person. And real people change depending on what happens in their environment. And that's just reality of life that's not going to change. But it's still Latrice. It's just that what we knew about her was not really shown. There was this additional part of her, but that's an additional part. That's not the whole person. So, I digress, but you get the gist of it. I don't think Jujubee was really thinking about the edit at all. I don't see it happening. Oliuta, by the way, maybe this question was asked before, but anyway, if all the winners of RuPaul's Drag Race and All Stars competed again, who would win in your opinion? I have no idea. Mostly because I don't see any winner coming back and willingly put themselves back in such a situation. I mean, BB is BB. And BB was on season 1, so it's like she was not even there, at least in the eyes of the vast majority of the viewers that see the show today. And they tuned in for the last 2 or 3 seasons, or maybe even just this season. So I don't see them coming back at all. So I never really, thought about it because, that depends on which kind of plans they have, depends on which kind of contract they have. I can tell you who I would like to win, and that is Bianca Del Rio, of course. Of course. It's going to be Bianca, so I'm going to give you Bianca as an answer, but it's not a well thought out answer, so you have to know that. It's a gut answer. Delta Schlin, villains I love, Jeremy/Fifi, villains I hate, Rolaska Talks. I honestly I wouldn't use the word hate because it's kind of an overused word that at this point means nothing but a stereotype. I can tell you that basically all of the villains made a number on me. But because I also, when I watch the show, I actually want these people to make numbers on me. I want to believe the fantasy. I want to get into the jantasy, if you know what I mean. at least for that hour. After that, I snap out of it, come back to my normal self, and remind myself that what I got to see were not people, they were character. Filtered out, extremely filtered out and dramatized by the production to the point that they might not even remotely resemble the real people behind it. So I don't really hate any of them, but a lot of them evoked really strong emotions in me while I was watching the show. And the one who did it the most was Roxy Andrews in season 5. She was the one who, in a way, no, I don't want to say triggered me, but you know what I mean. It felt really, really villainous, you know? It was done, the editing was done really well, and Roxy was serving 100% what it was required of her to be serving, and I think, and I will continue to think, that she was, if she wasn't all on board with her edit, at least partially she was on it, because she was simply too smart to do that kind of shit that happened in season 5 just by chance, just because it happened. You know, I can give Fifi a pass on this, because let's not remember that season 4 was the first season in which we got a live finale filmed 8 months after the show was actually filmed. So Fifi didn't know this. In her mind, at the time, she was like, okay, we play the game the way we play the games. The headers from the season before had an incredible run. One of the headers win. She was a villain. She called people boogers. She provoked everyone. You know, it was a different situation. But I will have to say Roxy from season 5. But then again, it was great television, and that's the most important thing of all. Delta Schlin, I can't believe that Sherry passed a psychological evaluation. Katya said it pretty extensive. Katya said it is pretty extensive, the psychological evaluation. Well, of course it is. It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, it's not an evaluation. You know, when you try to diagnose for one specific thing, then it can be really quick. But if you're trying to get a profile of the person, it's going to be something that takes about a couple hours. So with your written tests and with your talk with the therapist. So it's going to take some time. It has to. Otherwise, it has absolutely no meaning. Now, she passed the psychological test. Well, you have to understand, what do these tests actually do? They do not tell you if someone abused someone else. They do not tell you if someone killed someone else. They do not tell you all of these kind of things. They can tell you about which kind of tendency you have. Do you get angry quickly? Are you a reasonable person, or are you more on the emotional spectrum? Do you tend to project your feelings, or do you tend to rationalize them? Do you do you have a kind of how can I say, a meta understanding of your actions, or do you actually just perform them without thinking about the consequences? This is what this kind of tests do. So of course, when it came to Sherry Pie, what probably happened is that they found out that this person had controlling issues. These are my opinions, I need to stress it out. That this person had probably controlling issues, maybe a kind of sadistic tendency, manipulative behavior, really good verbal abilities, really good relational abilities, and that's it. And that's what you find out. You know, it seems trivial, but you know, this can it would be really peculiar from a standard battery test, a standard battery that it's submitted for competing in a reality TV show, it would be really rare to get, actual good signs that someone might be doing something that's really, really bad in their daily life. It's really hard. It will never happen unless the person goes, directly to the talk with the therapist and said, "Oh, listen, I did this and did that." So it's kind of difficult. But then again, that's not really their job, is it? That's not what the psychological evaluation is for. If you want to find out those kind of things, what you need is a background check, and that's what you should be performing, especially when you are dealing with $1 million. Sorry, $1 million. I always say $1 million. That's not what I mean. When you're dealing with $100 billion property, $1 million property like Drag Race, you should do background check. It doesn't take much, at least for, in terms of money for these people. It's like asking you to spend $5 to find out if someone has a profile on Grindr, someone you're dating has a profile on Grindr, $5. That's the kind of money. Because a good background check, how is it? $30,000? It's peanuts for these companies, and they should have done that, because the damage that Sherry Pie did to the show's image is tangible, and I think they're trying their best to cover it up. But the problem is when you have already a lot of things that are not really going very well, like people realizing that there is a lot to do with editing, people realizing about the storylines, people realizing about the queens shoved down their throats, people realizing that other people are basically destroying the real life of the real people behind these queens just because of a specific edit. When you have all of these things gravitating around the show, the problem that you have is that a person like Sherry Pie can be the trigger to make all of this thing pop out at once. And you should not risk that. You should invest the money to prevent that. And I hope that that's what's going to happen from season 13. And this is all without considering the social impact of a person like Sherry Pie getting a huge platform like Drag Race. We saw almost nothing on her. Yet, I've seen a ton of comments of people saying, yeah, but Sherry Pie is not that bad. She didn't do that bad. She just catfished some people. Catfished? For years? Allegedly buying steroids and making people take these steroids in the worst way possible, because there is a way to take them in order to make the less damage possible to your body. I mean, that's not catfishing. Whatever, let's not even get into that, because then I start to get angry. Dixie, when I think of Vanessa, of what Vanessa paid to have her costume made, to receive criticism from almost every single one, at least Vanessa had the ability to make her money back. Yes, think of all the queens who went on first. Of all the queens who went on first and spent that huge amount of money, and it doesn't seem to stop. Every season that comes, it's more outfits, more outfits, more outfits. I counted them from season 12, and it was no less than 30. We are going to see what happens for season 13. But you can be sure I will count them on. And I will continue to talk about it, and to talk about the cost of it. And how the show seems to absolutely not care about it at all. That these real people, get heavily in debt in order to make costumes. John Young, I assume that the production team asks to see the full set of each queen's... the full set of looks of each queen's before filming. Do you think that they take this into account when developing the storylines? I don't know if they get to see all the outfits. I don't see how that could be like a procedure in line. Most of all, because some of these queens will have their outfits made in the very, very last minute. And storylines is something that you start to develop the moment you get the psychological evaluation out, at least on average. So, of course, you have all your set of storylines for reality TV. Those are always the same. You can mix them up a little bit, but basically these are the kind of storylines that you have. Then you have your stereotypes of queens that you will have on the top. And then, based on whatever comes from the psychological evaluation, you will decide the kind of interaction that will happen with these different storylines. You will assign storylines to people and imagine a way in which they could happen. And all of this preparation work you cannot really do like three days before filming. It's something that you really prepare in advance. So I don't think that they take the outfit into account, and that is also justified by the fact that sometimes we have really, really good outfit who are read to filth for absolute no reason, or awful outfits who are complimented. And you know, if they took all of this into account, you would assume that there was a little bit more consistency in the way they critique the outfits, but there is not. There is not. So you see queens like Gigi Goode, for example, when she won the Madonna challenge, that she had basically not a swimsuit, but you know, a bikini. She came out in a bikini and she was absolutely praised for it. When we've seen queens after queens after queens being read to filth the seasons before because it was too little, it was too simple, it was relying on that body, you know. And if they really took the outfits into account, none of that would have happened. None of that would have happened. So I don't think so. John Young, least using this to handicap the assassins. Thinking about Alyssa's boots. I think I missed something there. Delta Shlin, pronounced Del Tashlin or Tashlin. Okay, good. So I didn't have it that bad, which is good. Olyuta says, that's why I prefer the concept of Thailand Drag Race, as they make all of their costumes. Though I know it's a show, you want to see the OMFG. So pretty. Miss Fame runways. Yes, but you know, we can have middleways. Middleways do exist. You know, have them make some of their outfits, maybe not just once during the whole show. And, you know, give them a fixed number of runways that they need to prepare. So they can actually, you know, if you really want the wow effect, tell them to prepare 5 really good outfits, like really good ones, so that at least the queens can invest the money that they can invest in a limited number of outfits, not on 30 of them, without even knowing if they will be used. Because don't forget, there are a lot of rumors out there saying that the queens had to prepare more outfits, but they didn't get to use them because they ultimately decided not to do that runway. It's a rumor, it's not confirmed, but it's been out there consistently. So think about that. Olyuta, also Kennedy's, but she is beautiful. It's just priceless. I cannot recall that one. Fantasia, so who do you think were the villains of each season? Of each season of Drag Race? That's a long question. So for season 1, it was Jade, without a question. For season 2, it was a strange season because we actually had villains reach the top. And one big villain winning the show. So we basically had 3 villains. It was Tyra, it was Tatiana, and it was Raven. For season 3, it was the others. And then again, we had villains winning the season. But don't forget, those were very, very young times of Drag Race. From season 4 on, we got to see the more stable format that we're used to. So for season 4, you had Fifi. For season 5, you had Roxy. For season 6, they tried the best to make Darian into a villain when there was really nothing going with it. And at times you really see the desperation when they tried to make, what was it, a Kearney Act into a villain. You know, they tried to make this thing happen between her and Jocelyn when there was really nothing going on, you know. Immediately afterwards, I think it was the day after, Courtney apologized and, you know, everything was behind their back and so on, and yet they tried to make it happen. From season 7, it was absolutely Kennedy, without any doubt. Kennedy and Jasmine, you remember what happened with Jasmine. They tried to make something happen with Thorgy in season 8, but it didn't really work up. They tried to, you know, make this thing between her and Bob, and they tried so hard to make that storyline happen. We had, do you remember, during the Snatch Game in season 8, they had this moment in which they kind of made Thorgy believe that she won the Snatch Game during the critiques, and then they announced Bob as the winner. So, you know, it didn't really felt villainous to me at all. There was something going on with Acid and Derek as well, but there wasn't really a villain for season 8 at all, you know. For season 9, they did something with Aja, but then again, I don't really think that we had that much of a villain in season 9. It was a lot like season 6 for me. Season 9 was a lot like season 6. And then for season 10, let me recall season 10 for a moment. Who was it? Damn, now I have season 10 and season 11 confused. Let's see. One moment, I have to check the cast because I just confused. To me, they are the same season. Oh, for season 10, the Vixen. The Vixen was an absolute villain. I mean, they took completely advantage of her personality. The Vixen has a very confronting personality, which in itself is not a bad thing. But, you know, they took advantage of it to frame it as this confrontational queen that will take any chance to bark at anyone about anything. It was just awful. It was just awful. And then for season 11, clearly you have Silky, and it was not just Silky. There was this other queen. What was her name? To me, she was Hercule. I always called her Hercule. Rachel O'Hara. And those were the two villains. And then for season 12, well, it was last season, we had Britta and a little bit going on with Widow. They tried their best with Widow, but it never really worked. I think Widow is in everybody's mind as this bitch with a heart of gold. So it didn't really work on anyone. But, you know, it's become increasingly difficult to have a good villain. And that's because the queens are too scared. But wouldn't you be scared? If you spent $50,000 for this opportunity and you are facing the fact that tomorrow you could lose your job, you could be hated on social media, you could receive death threats, maybe some of it will be carried out, maybe not the death threat itself, but some bullying, some harassment. And if you think about all of that, you know, people, even if they have a perfect personality to be portrayed as villains, they will tune down their personality as much as they can to avoid that. It's inevitable. Until the show comes out with a disclaimer saying that all the show is fake, that they build things up, that they take real moments, but they twist them, they stitch them together, they dramatize them in order to make a show. And until they get this message out time and time and time again, and by getting it out, I mean having a web series, you know, following how they created the impression of someone acted villainous, because that's entertaining as well. Until they do things like this, these queens will not go on the show and act as they feel. They will simply not do it. It's not going to happen. They're not idiots. That's, you know, that's the reality of it. Dixie, I understand exactly what you're saying about Jujubee. It feels like she's playing the character of Jujubee, almost like she's never left and picked up, where she left off, almost. Yes. Sorry. Oh, tend to get dry mouth when I speak for too long. Yes, she really felt tuned down. Oluta, on the topic of going to the bar to see the person you enjoy, I envy the fans from the U.S. I live in Ukraine, where drag culture is pretty much represented by two queens, Monroe and Marlene Scandal. Those are nice names. Yes, I envy them so much. But then again, think about this. The US is such a big country that what is the probability of living in a city where one of these queens is performing? But you know, at least if you consider traveling like driving for 1 hour or 2 hours to see them, I can see that happening. I can see myself driving for a couple hours to go to a big city nearby and see one of these queens at their bar, you know, at least once in a while. I see myself doing that, and I envy them. But then again, you also have to think about something about the US. I don't know if any of you guys knows, but Gigi Devane is having some health issues. I think Kennedy spoke out about kidney failure or something like that, and they created a GoFundMe for helping her paying the medical bills. So with that said, support with Chi-Chi, absolutely. But the point that I want to make is that, yes, we do not get to see these queens at the bars, but most of us here in Europe don't have to open a GoFundMe in order to being treated at the hospital. So I would never exchange the two things. I don't know if you get what I mean with that. Oluta, also the drag queens here are called travesty divas. Well, it's never about the name, it's about the meaning that's implied behind the name, you know? Today, especially on Twitter, we see a lot of banning of different kind of words. So I'm not necessarily referring to the N-word. I'm referring to other words like fish, for example. Now it's somehow considered offensive because it implies a bad smell of female genitalia and blah blah blah. But that's not the meaning implied behind the term. That's not how it's being used, you know. So it depends on the meaning behind travesty divas. And Oluta continues, so yeah, when you have the ability to see the person you like, it is a high probability the ticket are sky high price here in Europe, yes. There is this Club Kids from the UK who organizes events with the queens that they go throughout Europe. It's not just in the UK, but the prices are crazy, are absolutely crazy. I'm sorry, but for that kind of price, I honestly prefer to pay $10 and watch one of these live stream shows. At least I'm sure that all of the money goes to the queen. Because, you know, you pay $70, then how much of that actually goes to the queens? Because every time one of these big companies organizes these big events in different cities, in different states of Europe, and you know, we are still a union, but we are not a union like the U.S. So there are huge differences between states. So organizing these things throughout the old states is not as straightforward as it is in the U.S., for example. So, you know, when you see these big companies doing these kind of things, the first thing that I think is, okay, how much do they get of my ticket? 1%, 2%, something like that. Emily Butler, what do you think of Roxy's redemption edit in All Stars 2? Do you think that was planned from the beginning? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you look back at All Stars 2, you will see that Roxy Andrews was put in the bottom 5 times in a row. 5 times. I don't know if it was necessarily in a row, but it was 5 times. And you know that not most of these times, but at least 2 of these times she didn't even deserve it. And she even released an interview. So I cannot link it, I cannot mention it because it was so long ago. It was even before I started covering this kind of things. But I saw the interview. I think it was on Hey Queen. And she said this words. She said, they poked me as much as they could, but I never snapped. And that's exactly the same thing that I saw from the other side of the screen. They poked her in order to make her snap as much as they could. That's exactly how it looked. And she never snapped. And I don't think she had a redemption edit. You know, they told themselves that she got a redemption edit, but she didn't. She didn't. What she had was a failed villain edit. That's what she got for All Stars 2. It was a failed villain edit, and that's also why they went 150% with Fifi, because they were probably programming to having 2 villains, and they ended up with half a villain, which was Fifi. And it was not even half a villain, it was 15% of a villain. Everything else was added. So no, it was not in the stars a redemption edit for Roxy. That's not how a redemption edit looks like. Think, you know, if you have a short memory, think of Heidi of season 12. That's what a redemption edit looks like. Think of the confessionals, think of the loth, think of overcoming things, think of winning challenges, think of all of these things. And with Roxy, it's just push her down, push her down, push her down, but she doesn't snap. So no. Emily continues, I've heard that they kept putting Roxy in the bottom to try to get a reaction out. Oh, yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Yes. I heard exactly that too. I think it was on A Queen. But, you know, with at the moment, they release so many interviews to so many different channels on YouTube, to so many different places on the tabloid. No, they're not called tabloids. They're called something else. What are they called? Press. Different kind of presses. Are they called like that? Whatever it is. But they release so many that it's so difficult to keep track of it, you know? 6 years ago, you could have said, I heard the Queen saying that, okay, it's on Hey Queen. That's where it is. It's on Hey Queen. So I have no idea where you could find that. But yes, you heard that right, because I saw that interview. So I can tell you for a fact that she said that. Dixie, it took me years to finally fall in love with Roxy again and forgive her for her behavior. It wasn't just because it was a villain edit, it was stone cold bullying. Yes, it was. It was. And I completely understand that because I felt the same way. It was also in a time in which I was almost buying everything that was coming off of Drag Race. You have to understand one thing. Drag Race was the first reality TV that I've ever dealt with. Before that, I've seen some episodes of my local Big Brother, which was basically made in a way in which it wasn't edited. It was just raw following people 24/7. What was edited was the recap of it. So, for example, it was a shock for me to deal with talking heads. I had no idea what they were and so on. So I learned that with Drag Race. And even though I realized pretty quickly what was going on in the making of the show, I was still so naive and so invested in it. And Roxy's character in season 5 was so strong that I completely bought into that. So it's been really hard for me, at the time at least, to separate the person from the character and understanding where the line connecting them was, and then deal with that. Is she really a mean person? Is she really like that in real life? How much was intentional, how much was played out, and how much was edited? Because it was such a strong character that it's really impossible to say, oh, Roxy did absolutely nothing. You know, she did a lot of things actually, and we know nothing about the motivations behind it. What I realized over time is that Jinx Monsoon is not that sweet person that she appeared to be in season 5. She's not a bitch at all, but she's not an angel. She's not an angel. I like her, there is no doubt about that, but she's not pure. That's what I want to see. There is a good 5 to 10% who is kind of questionable, you know, like with every person, because these are not characters, these are people. So of course it's not 100%. But that helped in rehabilitating Roxy after her season, and also the fact that she put in a ton of work, because, you know, season 5 was almost 8 years ago, and if we consider filming, almost 9 years ago. So people are allowed to change. You know, they will not be completely different people, but if they put in the work, they can really go a long way. And I am living proof of that, because I used to be a complete idiot who wouldn't think twice and put zero filters between his emotion and his mouth. And yet, if you put in the work, you can really become a better version of yourself. And Roxy put in the work, so I will commend her for that. Delta Schlin. Ongina and Katya both failed the psychological evaluation. It's why it took so long to get Ongina of All Stars. Where did you get that? Do you? If you have some receipts, post them in the chat. I will gladly take a look at them. Dixie, there is a group on Facebook of Sherry Pie supporters. Can you imagine? Oh yes, I've seen stranger things happening. I mean, Dixie, don't forget that a lot of people like Ted Bundy, I don't know if just by saying the name everything's going to be blocked on this stream, but they received a ton of fan mail. Some of them were married in prison. So yes, I have no doubt that there is a supporting group for Sherry Pie. She didn't kill anyone. So yeah. Oluta said, when I saw Trixie's special and the whole Katya part of the story, I was terrified. I don't even know how Katya survived all of her seasons. I'm missing something, am I not? It looks like I'm really missing something in there. Probably an interview or something, because it looks like good information there. I really like to take a look at that. Moving on, Dixie. They showed an outfit on What You're Packing with Michelle that I've never seen Blair where it was. Dixie, you're stroking a little bit, aren't you? We are at that time of the stream. So you saw an outfit of Blair during Watch a Packing with Michelle Visage, and it was Marie Antoinette. a suit of Marie Antoinette with bows, and they never showed it. Okay. And it continues, they would have had to have cancelled that runway. Oh, yes, yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. They have a lot of outfits that they ask them to prepare. It's still a rumor, but if you say, I don't watch What You Pack In with Michelle Visage, because I have very, very little tolerance for bullshit. So I can accept most of it during the show, mostly because it's fun with the editing and so on, but I cannot watch a pack-in with Michelle Visage. I mean, doesn't she get a bigger check enough on the show already? It's full of all this bullshit. It's just too much. I cannot get past over it. But if you've seen that, I'm going to quote that. So I'm going to check that out. Let me write it down in my notes, because I'm going to check that as well. With the roads of last episode as well. Michelle, Blair, Becky. Okay. Oh, by the way, talking about the notes from last episode, somebody said that during the lip sync that happened in All Stars 4, during the Lollapalooza, that Gia's was edited to not having her words in sync with the song. So I checked back and I realized that is true. It's not only happening with Gia, it's also happening with Naomi. They're doing it with both of them. And I think that's exactly what was pointed out by a viewer. In addition to that, there are moments in which Gia is not mouthing the words, especially in the beginning. So that could be one of the reasons why, she didn't really get to have a wow kind of performance. It was still a really good lip sync, very, very high energy. They both deserve the win for that, more than Latrice for sure. But she is missing some of the words. She is missing some of them. And yes, they edited it out to look much worse than it actually was. You can see there is a moment in which she goes to the back of the stage and performs a walk to the front of the stage, and she dances while she does that, and that is completely cut out. You get a tiny bit of the beginning, a tiny bit of the end, which reminds me of Monet's reveal in her lip sync against Latrice, which is completely cut out. She had like reveal after reveal after reveal, and all of it is cut out. We basically get only the wig reveal. Oluta said, Kennedy's beautiful moment happened on Untucked. They were talking about Pearl. I think that was in the episode when Pearl asked Rue if there's something on her face. I didn't get that. I completely didn't get that. But when I will rewatch season 7 when I have the time, because in a way season 7 is really in my heart, because it was a very strange season. I hated it when it came out. I absolutely hated it, which is not difficult because it came after season 6. How can you top that? But in time, it's really doing a number on me, because the more I look back at it, the more I find it interesting, the more I see things, the more I realize that it was still Drag Race, much more than season 8. Season 8 looked like a rehearsal of season 6 to prepare for the eventual boom that the show would get into mainstream. It looked like they realized that it was happening, they got cold feet, and they thought, let's be safe. What was the most successful season that we have ever had? It was season 6. Let's do something similar to that. So season 7 for me is the very last season of the Drag Race I fell in love with. And looking back at it, it's much better. It's much better than what's in my memory. Much better. So I'm looking forward to having time to rewatch it. Fantasia said, dang, I missed the Silky Villain edit. What did she do that was villainous? I thought it was Raja and Evie. Well, you know, it's difficult to explain, mostly because I didn't follow season 11 the same way that I followed season 12 for the show. So I cannot really quote and say, yes, in this episode she did this, and in that episode she did that. But since the very beginning, you have this person edited to be loud, to be obnoxious, to be all-knowing, to giving away this kind of superiority vibe. And it was, I don't know if I don't think she's like this in real life. She doesn't look like this necessarily in real life, but I don't really follow her, so I cannot tell you about that. But if you rewatch it, even just from the first episode, you get the gist of it. She has this consistent edit that makes her feel so unlikable. She's constantly confronting everyone. She seems unreasonable. She comes off from the edit. She comes off as really, really unlikable. And I will never forget when, seeing this happening in real time and the way people reacted to Silky, because of course the bulk of the fans reacted to a villain edit the way people react to a villain edit. And Silky during the finale, that of course filmed months after the season was filmed. It was, I think, in April. And Silky looked completely terrified during the whole filming, because she was probably, by that point, she knew the kind of reception that she had. And when she was she was chosen to choose, she was picked to choose the queen she would lip sync against, you have this moment in which she freezed completely. For something like 10 seconds, she couldn't even utter the word. She just showed her hand to what I think she believed was an unbeatable queen, just to get over with. That was the impression that I had with Silky. You know what she looked like? She looked like marble when you hear a loud noise in the room. Completely frozen. Completely frozen. I felt so sorry for her. I didn't like her during the show. Mostly because I thought that, the edit did its thing, but she really put in the work to give the editors the material they needed. But during the finale, I felt so sorry. Really sorry for her. Because, you can be loud, you can be obnoxious, but at least you're not bullying anyone. You are just being a kind of character that people don't digest easily, So, Mrs. G, pray for Chi-Chi. Yes, pray for the fucked up kind of health system that they have in the U.S. And I'm not sorry about it. I mean, you guys in the U.S. have some great things going on, but your health system is really, I wouldn't say third world, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Oluta said, too many people are offended by someone just breathing in neighbor's room. I don't know what that means. I think that's an idiom from your language that's translated literally and doesn't really translate. But I get the gist of it. People are just too sensitive. And I think that being, one of the downside of being so connected through the internet, especially through social media, is that we didn't really get an education on how to properly use it. When you're a kid, you get taught that when you are outside of the house and people greet you, you need to say hello. If people give you things, you need to say thank you. If you want something, you need to say please. You get educated on how to use communication in that kind of setting. But when social media happened, none of us received an education on how to use it. So we are in that time of development as a society that we just haven't found out yet the best way to approach it. So people approach to social media in a very emotional and rough way. And one of the way in which this kind of behavior manifests itself, it's by being oversensitive. And if we're judging people by the way they react on social media, yes, they're being too sensitive. But guess what? I think that the best part of it is that in real life, people still behave normally. You know, they just come on social media and behave without any kind of restrictions. But I think that's going to change. In 20 to 30 years, people will look back at the time of social media and examine and analyze it as really a turning point in our way of communication evolved. As a society, as a race, as a globe, you know, it's not going to happen again. So for how nasty it is, at least we can say, well, we witnessed it. We were in it when we were going through this step in our evolution. Mrs. G said, did you hear about Katya and Ivy's situation? No, I didn't. I was completely cut out from the world for the whole week. When was this comment posted? 10 minutes ago. If you could write it down, I will read it. I will read the comments. Thank you. You know, when I say that we really didn't breathe this week, I really mean it. You know, it was like go out, work, come back home, eat something, work on the cage, wash yourself, go to sleep, rinse, and repeat the day after. This really was the whole week. So please write it in the comment. Take a moment, write it in the comment. Emily Butler, Katya's exposed interview is really good on how she explains things. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched that exposed, but that is a series that I followed. The last episode that I watched was with the Vixen, and it was really good. I cannot praise that guy enough. I simply cannot praise enough. He is really raising the bar for quality content delivered by fans of RuPaul's Drag Race. So I'm really proud of what he's doing, and I will not stop mentioning him, and I will not stop praising his work, at least until, you know, it's good work. But I will watch it for sure. Delta Schlin, it was in an interview with Katya. She was talking about her own experiences, but she dropped the angina deed. Oh, so it was in the exposed. Damn, I have to watch that. I have to watch that. Mrs. G, Katya basically said Ivy's drag wasn't elevated enough for a winner based on her first DragCon picture. Ivy responded saying she wasn't paid by Drag Race yet. Fuck. Oh my fuck. Oh my god. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? Damn. Well, you know, Ivy is not one of my favorite queens. But Ivy really didn't win her season. I think who won the season was her headed. Okay, so Ivy had this huge underdog edit with this kind of stereotypical queen who is the you know, the strange queen, the weird one, whatever it is. Then, you know, we have this kind of prototype, okay, that Ivy was embodying for her season, and that is the thing that won. Then you have Ivy. It's not that she didn't. For me, in my opinion, they all deserve to win. And I really mean it, because if it's not really a competition, that anybody deserves a prize for it. But with that said, Ivy it's not really famous for her sense of style. I mean, we made a little bit fun of already when she had that kind of Muppet thing that she was wearing. It was really let me see if I can take up some pictures, because I think that I know exactly what you are referring to. And we covered that, I think, in the first chop ever. Let's see if I have it. Oh yes, it's here. Should I play it? Yeah, let's play it. Let's play it. Here.
Contestants such as Evie Oddly really kind of changing the way we perceive drag, as Dragula is as well. What is
Evie
that?
Oddly's changing the way we perceive drag? Oh, I didn't know that. Was when someone says I'm not taking a photo because I'm not getting paid, my response to it was, well, good luck. Because you're going to have people that are going to find you. You know, you're going to walk out of nowhere. People are in bushes. Hey, girl, can I get a picture? That's just what comes with the territory. So I was just laughing at the fact that who writes that?
Yeah, so I think it was the very expensive fashion outfit. With that said, I am not surprised because that is Ivy's style. But I wasn't surprised if she wasn't paid yet. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But you also have to understand one thing, okay? When queens get paid, it's not like, oh, you have to get paid, I'll write you a check. It's a big company. That's not how things works. You have a budget. You have a yearly budget, and you also have a monthly budget. So everything gets postponed to the month after. So when they have a check to write to someone, they actually have to write it to that someone. So if you win today, the best that I can do is to go to the Treasury Department, or however it's called, and say, okay, for next month you have to write this check for this amount to this person. So I can understand if she wasn't paid yet, because maybe, you know, they were a little bit lazy and so on. But I mean, DragCon, wasn't it like in October or something? It's a long time not to get paid yet. And you know, if I don't pay you the money, I get to get interest on it from my bank. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Mrs. G, how long do the queens have to wait for their prize? I have no idea. This is actually the first report that I had. In my imagination, they were paid the month after, like everybody else in a big company. Dixie, Blair said the fabric of these outfits was handmade for her. It had lyrics from songs she had written. It must have cost a fortune. Oh, you're talking about the outfit from the Watch Your Packing. I have to watch that as well. Damn, I'm so behind on everything. Oluta, there is a Trixie documentary on Netflix called Moving Parts. It is so good. It's about Trixie's life before coronation, when Katya had to leave for rehab, leaving Trixie and Katya's show on Viceland. Yeah, that is another thing on the list. My God. My God. I am so far behind on all of this stuff. Dixie, I agree about season 7. I felt the same way. Fantasia, I was not really a big Trixie fan, and then I watched that movie and I absolutely didn't like her at all. She seemed so sad, and I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me. Well, I cannot say because I haven't watched it. I mean, I didn't like Trixie on season 7. Most of all, I didn't like the manipulation that was behind her character for season 7. You know, this whole thing of forcing her out of the competition only to have her back in, knowing exactly the way people were going to react on social media and so on. That's, you know, I connected the two things. And there was also the fact that she was kind of underwhelming in season 7. But I developed a kind of a liking to her. If it's not a liking, let's say, I don't know, I don't want to say tolerance, because that's not what I mean. An appreciation after seeing clips of her live shows, because she's really quick. She's an absolute bitch, and she owns it, and I absolutely live for it. I don't like what she does on Wow Presents. I think the show that she has with Katya, I think it's really pandering to the youngest viewers. I'm surely not in the intended viewership for that, and I don't really appreciate that. I think it's really stupid. But the way she is on her live shows, I really appreciate that, and it really changed my mind on her. Olyuta says, moving parts is really good, especially for those who glamorize the life of drag queens. It shows what goes on behind the things, and how sad in a way the job is. Well, I make no, drag queens, yes, are glamorized by the show, but me personally, I never thought they had a glamorous life at all. If you know, I don't know if it's really an apt comparison, okay, but when you do something because you like doing it, when you do something because you consider it a way of expressing yourself, not necessarily in an artistic way, but in a way that feels artistic for you. And you have to make a living anyway. It's really, really difficult, and there is nothing glamorous about it. For us with this channel, we've been having this channel for 3 years, and there is nothing glamorous about it. There is nothing that you really can envy about it, because it's basically a ton of work that you put in for free. Most of what you get is support from some people, yes, but a bigger number of people are there to basically insult you. And you can imagine this is all done behind the screen. Imagine for a queen in real life. Imagine that. They all have their day jobs, they all have to do their best with what they have. Most of the time they're not appreciated. So I never had the impression that they lived a glamorous life, even the successful ones. If anything, the successful ones have to deal with much higher stakes. They live a more comfortable life, that is for sure. They have higher income, they can afford more things. It's but it's still a very uncertain experience. I don't really know I cannot really find the words this time in the night. But I hope you get what I mean with it. I never glamorized it at all. But I don't doubt that a vast majority of people glamorizes their life. They judge them on face value. They see them having fun in the live shows. They see them having fun on the internet shows and so on, and they completely miss the person behind the character, because there is always a person behind it. And the more successful is the character, it means that the more resources the person put into bringing the character to life. So it's not glamorous to me, it's hard work. That's what I see. And that's also why a lot of the time I try to tear down these edits as much as possible, because by contrast it really elevates the efforts that these people bring forward and the sacrifices that they do in order to entertain us, and also to build a career for themselves, but mostly to entertain us, because if we are not entertained, they will not have a career. So that is the first duty, Delta Schlein says, Blair's music outfit was designed by Mondo in my favorite runway winner. I don't know Mondo, but the fact that it was designed by someone and probably done by someone else, for me, it means a good $5,000 price tag already, minimum. Jaylin Bano says, regarding the runway rumor about having to prepare for runways, in season 10, the Evil Twin Challenge, Cracker, Cameron, and to some extent Aquaria would have been used for a prehistoric runway. This is interesting. Because most of the time you see this kind of outfits that don't really match, do they? It's like the queens have kind of second thoughts and says, well, but this outfit was better. Maybe I can adapt it in some way. It's curious, say the least. Oluta says at Fantasia, the situation was not funny. Reality was happening. What's Oluta referring to? Oh, about the fact that oh, I get it. So basically, Oluta is saying that Fantasia had if I'm quoting it correctly, the impression that Trixie was kind of playing it up for the camera. If I'm reading right into this during this documentary, but I cannot say because I haven't seen it. But I'll talk about it if I get a chance. You know, I kind of have an eye for this thing. So if she looks kind of playing it up, I think it's going to show. So we'll see. Caesar Odinson says, Trixie, the documentary was to make her more relatable and didn't work for me. Oh, that is a second voice. So you're basically saying she was disingenuous. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Now, you know, now you make me want to see it. Now I have to see it because I have to clear this out. Because, you know, putting media out in order to be more relatable, it's an investment in your career. And every smart queen would do that. But I don't know if Trixie really need it. That sounds strange. I'm not discounting the possibility. Let's be clear about that. I'm just saying it doesn't seem probable. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll check it out. I'll let you know what I think. Delta Schlin says, well, the worst part about Katya versus Evie is Katya wrote in her and Trixie's book. Is what Katya wrote in her and Trixie's book, which won't be forgot like a social media post. What did they write in the book? Oluta continues, also, Trixie is a character, a wonderful mist on the water. There is Brian there, who needs love and care. So she's talking about the person behind the drag. Yeah, but damn, I didn't see this, and now I had... damn. I'm sorry, I hate having to talk about things of which I have no idea what they are. Because the only things that I can do is, you know, getting impressions of it, you know, speculate about it. And it's frustrating because this is things that I can actually see firsthand. I don't need to speculate about it. Dixie, I have to become a fan of Brian/Trixie as a musician. I don't think he really is a fan of people and has spoken openly that he's uncomfortable being touched by his fan. To him, it's her business. Oh well. Well, that depends on your definition of comfortability with people. There is comfortability with a crowd from a distance. There is comfortability with people at a meet and greet. There is comfortability with people in a work environment, in a personal environment, of people as family. There is different shades in this. So we have to see, you know, in detail what she actually means by that. But I can tell you this much. I do not enjoy being touched by people as well. You know, for me, it has a very, very personal meaning. If I touch other people, you know, for example, let's assume that we are together and we're having a conversation, you know, and I'm going to tell you something really interesting. Then I touch you. And that means it has an intimate meaning. It means pay attention to this. But I will only do it if I feel like I have a deep connection with you. If I don't feel that, I wouldn't even feel the need to grab your attention to begin with. So, you know, when you have this way of dealing with physical proximity, I can completely understand that. For me, that's fair game. Everybody has his own way of doing things. There is no right way. And in that way, being that, my God, no. Being touched, especially by people, I don't know, it feels just strange. Fantasia said to Olyuta, I know there was nothing funny in that documentary. Trixie was very distressed, but I didn't like her reaction to the things that were happening. She was kind of self-absorbed during the Katya issue. Yeah, I cannot... again, I cannot say anything about it. Dixie, yeah, he's a wonderful interviewer. I think she was referring to the guy, I can never recall his name, the guy that does the exposed interviews here on YouTube. Delta Schlin, from what I understand, Evie is pronounced Evie. Yes, it is pronounced Evie, but you know, at this time in the night, it's 2 a.m. here, and the first time I saw her name, I pronounced it Ivy. And then the season aired, and they called her Evie, but that Ivy sticked with me. So every time I read her name, I have to remind myself, it's Evie, it's not Ivy. Olyuta says, as much as I adore Trixie, in a way, Brian, hard to put that into words. How can you draw the line between persona and person in this case? Brian music uncovers much of his life, of his personal life, I think. Well, I don't know. I'm not really into country music, so I don't think I've ever listened to one of Trixie's songs, apart from the one that she performed for All Stars. Dr. Schlin says, Ivy evokes Ivy Winters. Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I mean. Mrs. G says, yes, it's that photo. Oh, from the clip that I showed. Yes. It's the very expensive fashion. Olyuta says, it's okay to search in yourself when your friend is struggling. Believe me, I went through similar experiences. You seek in yourself everything that could hurt the person you care. I think she means help. Yeah, but I should stop reading these comments because I have no idea what they are referring to. I cannot even follow the conversation. I'm just adding nothing to it. If anything, I'm distracting everyone from the conversation. So I will just skip them, until I have actually something to say about it. Dixie said, you summarized my feelings of Trixie better than I could. I think she's referring to Olyuta. If people think they live a glamorous life, they need to re-watch your videos on how some of the fans behave. Oh yeah. And that's just what's online. Think, my God, think what happens with local queens. Queens that, do not necessarily get filmed because they are famous and so on. And that reminds me that not so long ago, how the term trade actually originated, because most of the fans today, they will see a cute boy or man in drag, not in drag, sorry, behind a drag queen, and they will call them trade. But that's not really the meaning how the term originated, because years ago, and probably still today in some places, a lot of confused straight men. So let's repeat that. Confused straight men would approach drag queens for, favors, for pay after a show. And not so long ago, you have to understand this, queens were paid nothing at their local bar. You know, most of them would be paid, in the best case, 50 and the drink, and then whatever you can get in tips. So a lot of these queens, some of these queens would enjoy it. Some of these will simply do it because they needed to do it, but they would agree to do this kind of favors. And that's the meaning of trade. You are trading something. So most of the time, in time, the term became kind of connected to this stereotype of straight acting confused man who is attracted to queer people, especially drag queens, you know. And the problem is, trade is not necessarily someone that is attractive. It's more connected to the acting as a straight man, the stereotype of acting as a straight man, which for a long time and still today is considered somewhat of a attractive feature about a gay man. To be straight passing, it's considered attractive. That's how the attractiveness behind the term trade got transferred to physical attractiveness. And but that is part, you know, that's to say that those kind of things were part of the reality of what happens for drag queens who perform in places that are not that glamorous, not that famous, they're not that famous themselves, and you have to deal with a lot of things. And some of these things are this kind of things, among others. Dixie says, I haven't seen Missing Parts either, and it would really be fun for you to watch a live review, and we could all watch it together, and we wouldn't have to see you, only hear your voice and a bit of the TV screen. But you know, Dixie, there is a problem with that. It could be done. It's not a problem. It could be done. The problem is we would get a copyright claim. There is no way we wouldn't get it, because the artificial intelligence that screens all of the videos for possible copyright infringements will detect me playing this video, and even if I stop it, and even if I am commenting on all of it, and it's not just the reaction videos, which it's not really fair use, but even if I'm pointing out things while I do it, there is no way that I wouldn't get a copyright claim on the channel. And with the fact that we already have 3 copyright claims, we already have 1 copyright strike, and for some reason they still didn't kick us out from the partner program, I really wouldn't like to try my luck. So maybe I could do a review during a stream, because you know we are going in the official off season. Okay, so maybe we can continue doing the stream, maybe not each week, maybe every couple weeks, maybe every 3 weeks, depends on the time, depends on how I would prefer to invest most of the time, because the channel is really starved for videos. I've been concentrating a lot for season 12 and All Stars 5 on doing the streams every week and having our time and so on, but I really let the video part of the channel a little bit go. But maybe we can do a review of it, you know, taking clips, talking about different things. Yes, that could be done if there is time, if there is a will to do it. But I still have to find the time to actually watch it in the first place. And I don't think I'm going to have that time for a good 2 to 3 weeks, you know, if I want to pay any attention to it. If we are talking about mindless watching, yes, I have half an hour every night before going to bed for that. But, you know, I would actually like to watch this instead of just mind-numbing myself with it. Oluta says, yes, watch the documentary. It will be very interesting to hear your opinion. I will watch it as soon as I have time, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know, even without necessarily making a stream, even without necessarily making a video about it. The moment I watch it, if I notice something interesting, if I watch it this week, for example, in the next stream we'll talk about it, for sure. Delta Schling continues, Katya wrote those comments about Evie in the book. Rather than less permanent media like an interview or social media. Okay, well, I didn't read the book. Delph continues and says, Joseph Shepard, yes, Joseph Shepard, that's the guy. Which, by the way, I have no idea how he got to get queens for interview. Does he pay them? I mean, but by this time he's doing such a good job that I have no doubt that Queen would actually pay to be on the show. But I have no idea how he got them in the first place. And I envy him so much. I envy him so much. That will never happen here. Sadly, it will never happen. Dixie, I know specifically that Trixie has said in that particular, it is the meet and greets that she is the most uncomfortable with. She said she can't wait for them to be over. And I believe that. I believe that. If I take a look at Trixie's fan globally, so I'm not talking about anybody in particular, I'm talking about averages, it looks like screaming little girls. And I can completely understand that. I have very, very little tolerance for very young people, you know. It's just that I reached a time in my life where I cannot really deal with that self-absorbed kind of way that is part of the development of a person in that age. So it's nobody's fault, but I have simply no patience for it anymore. And if you think about how crazy Trixie's fan are, at least from what we see on social media, I absolutely understand her. I would feel uncomfortable as well, very uncomfortable actually, very embarrassed. Very like, I would love to be anywhere else. And Dixie continues, and she said, I agree that Trixie seems very comfortable when performing live. Yes, that's the dichotomy right there. You know, one thing is being comfortable to perform at a distance, and another is being uncomfortable in performing at close proximity. Because don't forget, when people go at meet and greet, they really have no interest in Brian. What they want is Trixie. And Trixie is a creation of Brian. So even at meet and greets, she is still performing. She's just performing at very, very close proximity. So I do understand the rationale between saying I do not feel comfortable during meet and greets. Mrs. G, so what do you think that phone call to RuPaul was about at the end of the last All Stars 5 episode? That is, that I didn't mention it because, the funny thing about it is that when we watched the episode, me and Mr. Invisible, we closed the video before we got into that. Because we're okay, the episode is over, we're done. Let's go our own way. And I noticed that later today when I was actually preparing the material for the stream. So I have no idea what that is about, but I can give you a guess. They're probably going to bring back the queens. They're probably going to do some kind of voting. Maybe not necessarily like the voting that happened for All Stars 4. Maybe they will vote for one queen to eliminate or something like that. But they are going to bring back the queens because you have a group of All Stars there and they didn't do a returning queen episode and they're not going to use them anymore. It just doesn't sound right. So either the queens are coming back or there is going to be an explosive guest judge. But when I mean explosive, I really mean explosive. I mean, we're talking someone like at the caliber of Madonna, someone like that. And I don't think they can afford it. So it's probably going to be the queens coming back. But we're going to see. We're going to see how right we are. Dixie, I couldn't believe you were talking that way about Evie. I know how much you love her. And then I caught on. Oh my god. Well. Oh, Ivy, not Evie. Or is it Evie? Oh, it's 2 in the morning. Pass it. Please let me pass that one. Give me a pass on that one. Fantasia, thank you for the history of trade. I seriously never knew that. Don't worry. There was a time in which I didn't know that as well. I mean, I had hints of it, but it was actually explained to me by different sources. So, but that is the accepted background behind the term. And today it's like much of the drug culture is simply taken by the mainstream and reused and reinvented, and I'm not going to gatekeep about that, because that's just how culture works. That's how it always worked. Something gets taken from a source and it gets reused, it gets reinvented, it gets misused. It's part of the cycle of culture. So really I'm not going to gatekeep on it. But I think it's also interesting to remind ourselves of the meaning behind all of these things before they got adopted, let's say like this, by a different culture and used in a different way. And it's interesting. It's good to remember ourselves of these things. Fantasia said, we got to do a Zoom call for that. Yes, or you're talking about streaming the documentary. Either that or on another platform. That is for sure. Possibly Twitch, which is very easy on this kind of things, especially if you have no kind of monetization going on. They kind of give you a pass. Especially if you're not a big name, so that would be completely good with us. So I'll look into that. If I actually have something to say about it, so I need to see this thing first. Dixie, copyright infringement sure wants to spoil all of our fun. LOL. Well, it's an annoyance. It's really an annoyance, In a way, I understand it. Because, there are literally millions of videos uploaded every week on YouTube. And we are talking about billions of hours of content every week on the platform. You cannot possibly imagine to pay enough people to watch all of this content. It's simply impossible. And the magnitude that I mean by that is that no matter how much Google is earning every month, I think they would go in red if they had to pay enough people to watch all of YouTube content. So I do understand the need for an artificial intelligence to do it. What I would like is a little bit of middle way with it. Give us a chance to actually appeal directly to YouTube and say, listen, I get it that I used more than 5 seconds of a clip, but it's, if you look the 5 seconds after, you can notice that I'm critiquing it, that I'm commenting it, that I'm doing fair use with it. You just need to look 5 seconds after. So pay someone for this very tiny amount of cases in which the person is actually saying, wait, no, it's fair use, look at it. And you can create a system, you can score channels, for example, that are truthful in asking this kind of review from channels that, they simply do it because they can. And you can, in a way, you can optimize in this kind of way, so that you have to actually hire less people to watch it. But you know, we need a middle way with it. It cannot just be done with an AI, because the AI is stupid. I mean, they demonetized the top 10 editing fails of this channel, which means it's not being suggested, nobody watches it, and it's a comedy video. There is no arming in that, there is no insulting, there is that. It's light-hearted, clean, G-rated comedy. Yet we are not allowed to earn a cent on it, because the AI decided that it's somewhat vulgar. So, you know, a little bit of a middle way, a little bit of it. And the way, you know, the copyright claims are managed is fucked up. But then again, you know, I'm angry at YouTube for taking so much time to manage them, but I also understand that there is no other way to manage them, because the problem with it is the laws that are behind it. It's the way they are structured, and there is only so much that you can do with it. But you know, overall is very frustrating, because there is a ton of things that I would really love to do, and I cannot do that. I cannot do them. I cannot spend 1 month working at a video only to have this video come on YouTube, receive a copyright claim, with all the arms that comes to the channel with another copyright claims, and on top of that, somebody is making money out of it. So while I have no problem at the idea of working on a project that I am passionate with and earning nothing from it, and I don't have a problem with it, I cannot absolutely accept to receive all the downfall that comes with a copyright claim, and on top of that, somebody else is making money out of my work. That is absolutely unacceptable to me. So the only result is that I do not do that. And like me, a ton of other content creators do the same thing. And what happens is that for all of you people, and all of us as well, who approach YouTube as a customer, as somebody who watches video, and goes through the advertisement and creates revenue for YouTube, I am less entertained, because a lot of things that I could have had, I don't have them, because people are discouraged in doing them. So it's a complex situation. It's a complex situation. But with YouTube, I really want to. I'm trying to lay as low as I possibly can, at least until the channel makes enough money to sustain itself. From the point of view of having a decent computer, a decent microphone, a decent screen, you know, basically our time is for free. But everything else that comes at a price, I would really like the channel to pay for that itself. So I'm trying to lie, you know, as low as I possibly can. So all of these things we can talk about them. Maybe some will happen, probably on another platform, and we'll see. We'll see what comes on with the times. Fantasia said it can be done on the Discord too. Can you stream videos on Discord? Let me check. By the way, I always forget to put the link for the Discord server that you created. So I'll put a link in the chat right now, and later I will also add it as in the description for the video, so that at least anyone who wants to join can join. So this is the link for the moment. Now let's see. User settings. Nope. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, you can use the microphone on Discord, but it doesn't look like you can actually stream. Well, we'll see about that. Dixie, I thought the same thing. He doesn't have very many subscriber either, and it seems everyone's willing to sit down and talk to him. Oh, you're talking about Joseph? Was it Joseph? Oh my god. Joseph, yes. Joseph Shepard. I think he can afford to, you know, to actually pay them for appearing. For what I see from his house, it looks like a really nice house. But I don't want to talk ill of the guy at all, because I am extremely grateful for what he's doing. He is really elevating the bar when it comes to independent content creators, content related to Drag Race and the drag queens. So I will overlook all of that. I don't care how he does it. I'm happy that he does it. Dixie says, when you're looking for something, I pick up static. And then when it stops, when you stop, it seems to go away. Just a bit of a clue. Yeah, I know what's happening. What's happening with the microphone is that the microphone itself, it's not cutting out the static. So, since the microphone it's not cutting it out, it means that it reaches the computer. The software that is on the computer is a tiny artificial intelligence. It's embedded in the driver, who is basically trained to recognize the sounds and differentiate them from the background. So it artificially cuts out the background noise. The problem is, when I do not speak, it doesn't have this additional information, so it doesn't really know what is background noise. But it starts with the microphone. So I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So we'll see about that. Fantasia said, I think it can be done. I seen it done with a drama channel I was following. I'm talking about streaming on Discord. I will try stuff this week, so we will see. Yes, let's see that. Let's see that. If we can do it on Discord, which means we can also, it's kind of a more private way of doing it. Let's see it like this. Like this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's do it like that, girl. We'll see about that. Oh my god. It's that time of the night. It's that time of the night. Mrs. G, what is Discord about? It's a chat room. Says Fantasia. Mrs. G, I'm going to sign up. The microphone noise is back. Yes, it's going to be back. It's going to be back until I'm going to fix it or fail doing it and having to run out at the last minute and buy a new microphone. A new middle of the pack one, because who has 100 euros for a microphone? It's just one of the last thing at the moment, you know? One of the last thing. By the way, we broke the $200 budget for the desktop. So we are 10% gone. 10%. And if I start publishing videos, and if at least a couple of them go very well, we could be done really quick. So let's lay low. Let's you know, let's be grateful. Let's be grateful that we're still in the partner program. Even though we're sandboxed, but we're still in the partner program, so we still get that $3-4 a day from YouTube, which is really good. It's really good. It's better than zero. Don't everyone say anything about fracking. Our host is getting tired. You know, in my mind, I have many things. I have a very lively mental life, let's say like this. In my mind, every time I picture RuPaul, there is this fracking tower going up and down, you know. And I thought maybe I can do an edit about it, you know, when she gives a critique or when she comes in to do the main challenge and edit this fracking tower instead of RuPaul, but then I never do it. I always run out of time. You know, I get to the last minute, I get the episode. If I'm lucky, I get it at Sunday morning. Usually I get it at Sunday, yes. Saturday morning. Usually I get it Saturday afternoon and I get to see it by the end of Saturday. And then I have Sunday to prepare the streams. And I don't know if you noticed, but I completely lost control of the streams, which means every time I prepare one, I used to have like 10 images and 1 video for the live streams. Now every time I prepare one, I have like at least 5 videos and no less than 40 images. So I'm slowly losing control over it. More and more, yes, but there is this and there is that and there, you know, and you know what happens? That Sunday arrives and I spend all of Sunday preparing the live stream. Of course, I have my pauses in between. It's no more than 5 hours, no more than 5 hours of work, everything included. So the software check, the microphone check, the prepare of the stream, the Photoshop work, if I need to do some Photoshop and so on. But it's, you know, it's usually this 4 to 5 hours every Sunday. But it used to be like 2 hours. And I just cannot stop. I just cannot stop. And, you know, in a way, sometimes I would like to do a little bit more. There are some things that I would really love to parody, but I never get the time. And it's also one thing that the show airs Friday night. Here, when the show airs, it's like 2 in the morning of 2 in the morning of Saturday. So if the show would come out like on Wednesday, then I would have more time to prepare for the streams, you know, and do more elaborate things and, you know, entertain us a little bit better. But, you know, that is how it is. Now, with that said, it's that time of the night, so I'm going to go to sleep. I will pop out on the Discord from time to time. I hope that I will get this damned video out about Gigi, because it's being too long. And it's becoming one of those things that if it doesn't come out right now, it will simply be put there and never be done, because it's like forever damned. So we will see each other next Sunday for the finale, and then we will also discuss a little bit what we're going to do for the future, because, you know, I enjoy doing the live streams. I hope you enjoy staying here with me. So even if we come at a lower frequency, but let's keep doing it. Let's keep spending time together and do this thing. It's fun for me, it's fun for you, so why not? So with that said, thanks so much for being with me. I will see you next time, and have a great week, everyone. Okay? Good night.